Hello, everyone. I'm waiting on Kendall. We are running a little bit behind. Kind of had a crazy afternoon and a lot coming in. Okay, sorry. If you're coming in, say hello. Please make sure to hop over and leave a thumbs up. That's a free way to support the channel, and it's greatly appreciated. Hello, my rebrand. This is going to be. I'm going to try to not have it be all over the place. Hi, Inside the Purple Purse. Hi, Nicolee. I have missed everybody. It's been a bit, right? I have not. Hi, Crazy Cajun Mama. I have not been live in almost 2 months, I think. It has been insane. I ended up having a huge AS flare in December, and I was miserable in pain, and so I just don't function very well. Truth or myth? Hello. There are going to be people in here tonight from all over, and so I just want everybody to buckle up. This might get a little rough. This was going one direction, and it's still going to go part of that direction. But I have some new information that I'm bringing tonight. And it was kind of a gut punch, I'm not going to lie. I'll try to make a little bit more of my dinner. Hey, Boston. I may have to mod a few more people. Because it might get a little hairy in here tonight. Kind of trying to hold out and let Kendall get here. So let's just talk about what is fixing to happen. I do have some content coming up on Sherry Frank's book and talking about the Ruby Frank case. I've had a hard time getting in that. I know I said last week I was going to start. I've kind of had a really hard time. It's a very hard read emotionally. So I'm trying to put it together cohesively. Hi, Tracy. New tea. Oh, you're sick, Tracy? I'm sorry. Did you read the book, Inside Purple Purse? Yeah, I'm in the middle of reading it. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think some of my mods got removed because I had somebody else tell me theirs was removed the other day. Hi, Bunny. I will mod you real quick. Just be nice. Because I know I can trust you. Get your nose out of that. Ozzy, quit. That is not for you. Ozzy over here trying to get him some chicken. It is really good, rebrand. It is just it's very emotional for me for whatever reason. And 1980 Millennial told me she was having the same issue, that it was just hard to get through because of the emotion in it. I meant to tag her in this. Hope she comes on over. So got that one. I fell down the rabbit hole of conspiracy on an old case that I remember watching the movie when I was young. And I was totally fascinated with it then. And I guess that should have been a sign. But it is Silkwood. Have y'all seen, any of y'all old enough to have seen that movie with Meryl Streep, Cher, and Kurt Russell? And it's on the life of Karen Silkwood, who was a whistleblower on a plutonium plant in Oklahoma. I did not realize she's actually local to me. She's from here. And so the news was talking about it, and they're fixing to do a big thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know that name. Where do I know that from? And so then I fell down the rabbit hole. And I'm like, oh my God, let's talk about it. So, because they're doing, yes, I did rebrand. That's kind of what I want to get into with it. It is, I'm not a huge conspiracy person, but that is case. And so, and you can't find the movie. You have to actually buy a physical copy. It was on Hulu. It is no longer on Hulu. So makes it weird that they keep removing it, right? That fits that conspiracy shit with it. Hi, Jeanette. Get out of my bowl. My dogs are all trying to eat my dinner. I literally have gone 90 to nothing for 2-3 days now. I don't even know what day it is technically. And so it has just been crazy. I need to send myself screenshots that I need to share tonight. Kendall, where are you at? Because she wanted to have her say tonight. Yes, I do need to eat, and I forget to eat now. And so it dawned on me on the way when I was at the store. Well, I was like, I need to grab food, so I grabbed some chicken because that sounded good. Because if it's something that doesn't sound good, and if I try to eat, then I am nauseous like a mofo. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, did I miss Dreamer? I didn't see Dreamer. I don't see Dreamer. Hi, Into the Weeds. I'm getting started. I'm getting everybody time to get here. I'm waiting on Kendall. Kendall has some shit she wanted to say. I'm getting all tongue tied. I just ask everybody be respectful. Okay. There are going to be a few creators that are mentioned tonight. Know that I have no issues with any of these creators at all. I have talked to several of them privately, and we may not agree on a lot, but I have no issues, or on some. Here she is. Hi, my friend.
Hey, um, can you hear me? Is my earbuds working?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but I'm hearing you through my phone. I don't know why it didn't connect through my earbuds.
Yeah, rebrand. See, it's very weird how it's just scrubbed. Like you can find it on Amazon, but it's like $30 for a VHS tape. I'm like, no, hell no. Um, no, they did not hear anything about earbuds, Kendall. You may have to take your earbuds out and just be on the phone.
Hang on, let me switch.
She needs like multiple sets of earbuds. She has a hell of a time with earbuds.
I do. I have an Apple set, and then I have a Amazon off-brand set because I lose them all the time.
Or they go dead.
I'll try the Apple ones. I actually like the off-brand better than Apple.
Oh, I love my off-brand that I got off TikTok. Absolutely love them.
I guess they're off-brand.
Oh, you were kidding. Sorry, Rebrand, I didn't catch that. They can all hear you just fine. But you say you can't hear.
I can just barely hear you though.
Huh.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, that's better. These are Turtle Beach, the ones off Amazon, and which I like those better than the Apple ones.
Okay, so let's kind of get started. I'm sending myself these screenshots. So I've got to send myself these screenshots for when we get into the other part. I do have a special guest. I do not know if she will show up tonight. If she does not, we are planning either a live or a recorded live. I may announce who that person is in a minute.
I don't think you should.
Okay. We are trying to protect just a little bit because she has been well, it's going to be giving it away. Wait, is the cutting board here? Yes, she is. Hi, my friend. All right. So the other night, Into the Weeds had an interview up with PCAT Sarah. So I am going to say right now, when I say that PCAT is lying, I'm not saying about everything. I 100% believe her story on Missouri, except for the money. And the reason I don't believe the money part is because we were never given the proper receipts. And even what she gave Alora the other night wasn't a proper receipt. Even Alora kind of said it's just like a cropped image of one thing. So I have
more than that. It was more than she just didn't give the proper receipt. I had talked to her for weeks before we did the live. And one of the main issues that she kept saying was how much money this trip cost her. And even though I don't think Sarah should have owed anybody anything, at one point, I thought you both took money, you both took a trip, whatever come out of y'all's pocket, not donations, but whatever come out of your pockets should have been split between you both. So I said, how much money were you out that she still owes you? And this was right before we went live, because I was, PowerPoint, making sure that what we wanted to cover, what she was okay with covering, and that we were all straight on the, the fine points of it. She said $300. I made the comment, well, I'm not going to say 300 on the live because I feel like 150 of that is yours. I'm only going to say 150. And I feel different now. I really do. I don't feel like Sarah should have been out any money, and she should have gotten paid. But then I just felt like let's have it between both of them, because they both took the trip. They both begged for money. We get on the live, and I don't know how long into the live, but we get to the story where she starts talking about the money. And during mine and her private conversation, she never one time told me at all, at any point, in any text message, in any hours on top of hours on top of hours, that Fancy ever gave her anything, except when she went to leave, Craig made Fancy give her some gas money. And I don't remember if it was 20, 25, or 30. That's all she told me about. So when we get on the live, somebody's coming from other chats that Sarah had been in, and they were mad at Sarah. So I'm thinking I know the facts, as Sarah told me the facts were that Fancy never gave her no money but the little bit of gas money. Somebody comes in the middle of that live, and if you go back and watch the live, you'll know when they come in, because as I'm reading I'm reading the comments, one of those girls that hated Sarah, come in and said, well, Kendall, how about the $200 that Fancy gave Sarah? Well, immediately my mind went to, here's Fancy lying. Fancy didn't give Sarah no money except the gas money. And I'm like, what $200? And I'm thinking I'm in the right? And Sarah is like, she come up with this story about the $200, and it's been so long I can't remember, but that she admitted that Fancy did give her the $200. And that's when egg starts being thrown on my face, because I'm like, Sarah, we have been talking for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we've went over all this stuff that you wanted your voice to be heard. You wanted your side of the story. And we've talked in detail about how much money you were out and that you're owed that money. And you've never one time told me she gave you $200. And then she for some reason or another, it went from, she tried to turn it around to say, when she told me that Fancy owed her $300, what she was referring to is that Fancy actually owed her $500 and that she paid the two and she still owed her three. So that's where the bank statement thing come in at. And she tried to keep telling me that somebody only sent her $10. And I'm like, and this is when we were good. I was like, well, I can't do anything without the proof. And she proves the $10, but she proves it in a way that it's just one transaction.
But wasn't it identical to the screenshot that Amara showed?
Yeah, it was just a little thing saying about the $10. And it was nothing more than that. And I'm like, but where did you spend the $500 that you're saying you spent? Did that come out of your personal bank account? I mean, you and I had just not that long before had to give her money to eat on.
Yeah. Well, then we were the only one she asked for money at that given point.
So how did you have five? And I don't. Her business is her business. Her money's her money. It's like my question goes to how, if me and Brandy had to give you money to eat on, which wasn't a lot. I think between us together it was $30, $40. It wasn't that much,
and I don't want it back. It was a gift.
No, and I wouldn't even bring it up if this point was not like, how'd you have $500 if you're telling me that you're barely making it every month, and and you just don't know what you're going to do, and she had this her health, and I mean, she's in a really bad predicament. I mean, my heart hurt for her. And I kept telling all of y'all that kept telling me, leave her alone, leave her alone. I kept saying, I know the other side of Sarah. Sarah has a heart. She's got a good deflection game. But she had has, and I still think she does, that there's a heart there too. And that's what I kept telling y'all. So my question went to, if we had to give you money to eat on.
Hold on, Nicolette says she spent $500 on what? Her gas and food and lodging was paid for. And that was what we were trying to figure out.
That exactly.
Spend it on.
That's why I said, I was like, if you want me to fight this, and like I'm gonna go. I mean, Fancy was my nemesis at this time. Everything that Fancy was that Sarah was telling me about Fancy, it fit my puzzle, right? We know how Fancy treats people. We've seen it.
Well, we may be page, but
so everything that we knew and know about Fancy, everything Sarah said fit the puzzle pieces, right? It made everything just seem like there's no way she's lying about anything, because this just all makes sense. And I still believe, like you said earlier, a lot of what Sarah has told about the trip, I 100% believe.
I still believe, even though I don't like her, and she wants to discredit me everywhere, I do believe what she talks about on the trip. We watched it happen live. Like Fancy was live 24/7. We seen all of this playing out. We know she's not lying.
And also, what did I tell you during the whole time of that trip, every time that they would pop up and the few times we've seen Sarah? And this was before me and Sarah had ever talked at all.
She looked miserable, and it wouldn't be long when they got back that it would be over.
And I said, I wonder if I went and picked her up, would she leave Fancy there? Because every time we seen Sarah, I swear, her skin got more gray. She just looked ran down. I mean, she looked sick, and this was before I'd ever talked to Sarah. I mean, I had talked to Sarah before this just a few times, and that was usually me and her arguing about something, and it wasn't a personal conversation, just I don't agree with what you did. You don't agree with what I did. It was that kind of thing. It was never a one-on-one conversation that was personal. But I had talked to her enough to know that there was something else behind this extravagant visage that she puts on live. And, and some of the hateful, mean things that had been done with her as Fancy's co-host, and that she co-signed it. I knew there was something else under that. And because I had seen that, a little bit of it. So I reached out to Sarah. So to get back to the money, because I'm getting all over the place. She started saying this $500, and that Fancy did give her 200, and Fancy still owed her 300. And I'm like, you let me sit there on that live and take egg in the face, because you've never one time told me that she paid you anything. And all I've heard from you is how much money you were out. So show me where you've spent $500 so I can go up against Fancy and prove what Fancy did to you. And she'd be like, oh, okay, you want the bank statements. I'm like, I need the bank. Take all your personal stuff off. Edit everything. If that's anything personal, I don't need to know that what you spent at the grocery store. I don't need to know any of that. Just where you spent $500 getting ready for this trip, getting your car ready, whatever, so that, because you're owed that money back. And she's like, okay. Well, then she just never would. And then it got to where I was mad, not just because of that, but because of some other things that we found out that she had done that was disgusting. And at this point, I'm done. And she finally then says, I'm not giving nobody my bank statements. I don't blame her for that. As far as I'm not giving nobody my bank statements either. But if I'm sitting here trying to prove somebody owes me $500, and I have people that's willing to fight for me at that time, I'm going to take my bank statement. I'm going to edit everything else that ain't important.
Show where you got the oil change, show where you got this, show where you had to pay for this.
And she wouldn't show us nothing. She would just say, she ain't lying. She ain't lying. And then she kept saying, I've sent you so much, Kendall. And I was like, you didn't send me anything worth having. She would go on and tell me how Fancy was so abusive to her and talked to her like a dog and cussed her. And I would say, send me the proof. The only thing that she would ever send is this last text message that her exchange between her and Fancy as she's on the way out the door after court. And at this time, their friendship is breaking apart anyway. So of course Fancy's going to talk to her like a dog, because it's the friendship's breaking up. It's another friend that Fancy's done with, and Sarah's done with her. So I expect Fancy to act like that. We know how Fancy acts when she's done and mad. It gets vicious and hateful. I expect that conversation at the end of that very last text message that she sent everybody to prove that this is what Fancy did. That text message was after court, was after the not the Lion court, the one with Gypsy, or the Blanchard. So it was after that, and Fancy was done with her, and she was done with Fancy. You would expect that one to be bad. But she had tried to tell me that the whole relationship, that she had all this proof of the way Fancy treated her and made her do all this stuff. And I was like, send me proof so I can show people how Fancy treated you. Okay, I will. And I would never get nothing. And she would send something that would be like a point she would want to make, and it would be absolutely worthless. There was never any text sent to me to show the world how cruel Fancy had been to her, except that very last one. And she kept telling that can you believe she talked to me that way? And she did this the whole time. These women.
Hold on, let's read this real quick. Alora says, so many people said I was too hard on Sarah. I knew she wasn't trustworthy, so I was just trying to get all of the information I possibly could. I don't think you were too hard on her. I think you were great. As a matter of fact, I applaud you because you pointed out the inconsistency on things. Mm-hmm. People want to cater to her right now, guys, because she's coming out against Fancy, and that's the popular train. Now, I got some information I'm going to be bringing out in a minute that's going to be against her as well, but so I didn't go here. But I'm absolutely sick of people catering to Sarah. she's caused a lot of problems, and she's spending a lot of time right now trying to discredit me, and I don't appreciate it.
So there was other
I'm
points
gonna holler on
that Sarah would make during our almost 2-month friendship. And remember, I reached out to her because I seen how sick she was getting in Missouri. So, and I still, and I know me and you are different, but there's still a part of me that cares. And it was just so upsetting to me that I am the one that went to her and stayed with her for 2 months when I'm getting text messages like, at one point in time when I made her mad, she told me, she's like, I just want you to know I didn't mean to hurt you. I love you. And if you never get to talk to me again, referring to if she, you know, that she loves me and she forgives me. This is after, like, you're leaving me text messages like that because I was always, she loves to talk about her health and how bad she is and how sick she is. And I personally seen medical records, which to this day, no matter how upset I got with her, I've had people ask for them. I have not shared them. And I would never, never, that was given to me in trust, and I would never. And I seen what the paperwork said. And they were testing her for leukemia. So yeah, there's just so much that goes into it without going back to square
Well, we
one, the
actually
square two.
defended her on the cancer diagnosis when we were mad at her. People were coming at us saying, "Is she's not really sick? She's not," and we're like, "No, it's her diagnosis is
Yeah.
real. We saw it." And so I may not care for her, but at the same time, right is right, and she is sick. There is proof that she's sick.
So in that live, what Into the Weeds did was the best thing they could have done is keep her away from comments because it did make her spiral out. She's done a lot of things to people, or people's done a lot of things to her. She's been in arguments with a lot of people at that time. I don't know about now, but at that time. And all of those people were coming in the chat, throwing things at her. And of course, they were backing each other up, and it was just Sarah against them, and what Sarah had told me and what I had told Brandy. And it, Sarah spiraled because she couldn't stay on track. And you have to, and I don't mean this mean because I've gotten clips of people saying that, how articulate she is and how smart she is. And I'm not saying she's not, but she's very, you have to keep her on track because she will be here 1 minute and there 1 minute and here 1 minute and talking about her health again, talking about she ain't going to make it long. And, she really likes to go to those places. You're going to hear about her DV. I mean, like every conversation I heard about those things. So I was trying to keep her on track during that live, and somebody would come in and say something, and she would go off in left field. And I try to bring her back. Okay, then what happened? And let's get back to here.
Court. We were trying to keep the court stuff out of it. I know that Exposing is trying to say that I released that video purposely at that point. I had given that video to Crafton days before that. So I mean, I didn't pick it that we didn't even know we were really going live till a couple hours before because she was Veda was wanting her on her channel, and you had already spent all of this time with her, so you wanted to get that interview with her, and
I had no clue you've done that.
No, and
make that clear because me and Brandy's only had one big blow up,
and that was it.
And it was over her sharing something. But here's that too. I was very upset with Brandy for sharing something that she gave her word to me that she would not share. And I was so mad. And I talked to my son. I said, I was like, she's the one person that knows everything about me. And I just never thought. And he said, Mom, didn't this Sarah lady give it to you? And she asked you to also not share it with anyone? Didn't you give Sarah also your word? And I said, I did. And he said, then what grounds do you have to stand on? And that started me and Brandy talking
Well,
again. That,
and we
you
were
know,
actually just being snarky about we should just release it and fuck her. And then you came back after we did
I
that,
said I can't do it. Yeah.
and you were like, I can't do it. We can't do that. Well, I had already acted, and I just didn't have the guts to tell her I had already acted on it. She's learned that with me, she has to speak quickly because I act quickly.
Yeah.
and I mean, it is what it is. I wanted that video out there because I wanted people to see they were full of shit. That video does not show anything that they claim is in it that happened. Period. It just doesn't. And but I didn't want people discussing the court thing because I didn't want Sarah saying anything that could get her ass in trouble with court, because that did need to happen. Court had the video. The video being out there didn't matter to court. The court proceedings.
Yeah.
But
After there was a conversation between me and her after the big blow up. And in a text message to me, she's like, why I didn't need to talk. It might be not word for word, but close. She said, I didn't need to discuss anything with court. I didn't want to talk before court. Why did you push me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't want you to speak on court. I didn't even want you to do a live until you told me that Veda had reached out to you and that you were thinking about you might do Veda. I didn't like Veda. I did not think that Veda was credible. It was nothing personally that ever happened between me and Veda.
At that time, Veda was still very close to Fancy, and that made you uncomfortable.
And Veda was, I'm not going to say sucking up to Sarah, but she was trying to get the scoop. Veda was trying to build her channel, and it was content, and she had been all along with Fancy. And I was like, why in the world, Sarah, would you go? I'm the one that has spent 2 months with you. And at the same time, I also had Colleen. And it was like between the both of them and them both going through really hard times themselves and me trying to be what I could be to them. Colleen's is a different situation because I caused hers and I take full accountability for that. But with Sarah, I just wanted to be there for her. And there was also the other side of it, because I'm going to be perfectly honest, because I'm so done with this whole community shit.
I want my chat that I would love to say I'm done with the Gypsy verse and this is done. But let's face it, if something else comes out I got to address, I'm going to do it. So I'm not going to promise anybody that, but I'm seriously trying to get away from it.
Well, with me, I'm done. I mean, this is it. I don't even follow anybody anymore. Some people I block, some people I just don't follow. And it's not nothing against them. It's just my content's completely different now, and I don't want to bug them with my content. And I'm just not in the community anymore. I don't like. There's people I would still talk to on a personal level, but I'm done with it. Just done. But she said, I was like, why would you go on Veda? At least me and Brandy can protect you, which was the goal. Was not that we were not going to hold her accountable, but we knew that, or I knew that I could at least protect her there. And which is not what happened. She definitely got trashed on that live. But it wasn't because that was the plan. It was that lies were caught. Or twisting of stories was just slammed in our faces.
Well, and I believe that because and we call her A over here, I will not say her name, was upset about things, and I think they had been arguing all day, and then she had been in the comment section, and they came over here, and they rightfully have their own beef with her. And it just
at that time, we didn't know their beef at that time.
No, we didn't.
No. If we would have known the stuff that went down with A, the young lady with autism, that was 100% done by Fancy and by Sarah, I would have never even had a relationship with Sarah in the first place. That's how bad that situation is. She can spin the story that parts were cut out and it was edited and all of that, but there's things that said in these text messages that even if without the context before it,
prove that it doesn't work that way. If she would have been in that messenger chat and deleted comments, it would show, and I'm going to prove it because I just experimented in a chat I'm in with Tracy. And have it on a private chat as well. I can show it both ways because I was going to do just a private chat that I have with just one person. And I thought, well, they'll come back and say that it was a group chat. So that's different. So I went into the group chat I have with Tracy and I said, hey, I'm going to experiment for a minute. And I did that. And it absolutely shows when messages are deleted. So we can sit here all day long and say she dirty deletes. Well, that may be true, but those messages were not altered that way. And I'm trying to find the link to it. Fancy offered to put me in the Google Drive, but I'm going to be flat out honest right now, guys. I am so livid after the messages I was sent yesterday afternoon that I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to deal with it.
Well,
and show them here in a minute because it goes to a point Kendall and I are going to make.
So when Sarah was telling me about the A situation, the young lady, she had told me that she had proof that she had told A, don't do this for Fancy. You know, you don't have to do this. And she was telling me that.
Pause. Elizabeth Borden, are you back? You were here last time. Resident Midnight, go the fuck away.
Why are you even acknowledging them? Just freaking walk and go on. I don't even know why you're giving them your breath.
Hold on. No, I did not. I was not there when they were there. I got there within a week or two of them leaving. So now I've already proven that time and time again. Kiss my ass. Goodbye. Okay, go ahead.
So she told me, and I said, do you have proof of this? And she said, I've got so much. It's just so much to go through, Kendall. And I'm like, okay, because 2 weeks before she actually left Fancy, at least, I could be wrong about the 2 weeks, at least a good week and a half, I kept saying, this is what Fancy does. She's going to screenshot messages. She's going to cut her part out, and she's only going to show what you did. So before you leave those group chats or you leave her text messages, you need to make sure that you screen record everything. Don't even screenshot. Screen record it. Then nobody can accuse you.
It is not a lie, Elizabeth Borden. You weren't there, so fuck off.
Why are you giving these people your breath?
Because I feel like it.
You have the proof to prove your side of the story. They're doing exactly what they're trying to, and you're letting them. So she said she had the proof of telling A that she did not want her to buy this laptop for Fancy and that Fancy just wanted her there for her money. Then send me that. Send that to me so I can prove that you're the good guy here and Fancy's the bad guy. Okay, I will. It's so much to go through. Never got it. Never got nothing. But again, I believed Sarah because we seen what Fancy had done online with this young lady. And what Sarah told me, again, the pieces fit. And it was very believable. So I believed her, even though I broke the rule of I need the proof. And they had, like, A had left Fancy for a couple of days, and her and Sarah had talked, and that went back and forth. All this time, I'm thinking Sarah tried to protect the young lady, that Sarah tried to tell her she didn't have to give Fancy any money. But Sarah had admitted to me that she had told people that the girl was, I don't remember exactly the word she used, kind of nuts, because she was obsessed with Fancy. She was going to move to Kentucky. She was going to get a self-driving car. She had admitted to me that she had said those kind of things in a group chat. She took accountability for those things. So when somebody's telling me the bad things they did, that gives me more, okay, if you're going to tell me the bad things you did, which, you really did talk bad about the young lady and you're admitting it, then it just sounded plausible, right? You're telling me the good and the bad. So I believed her. And then I'm at work one day, Brandy's at home, and Ryan and Fancy do a live. And in that live, Brandy's like ringing my phone off the hook. My phone's going crazy. And she's like, oh shit, Kendall. And I'm like, what? She said, this is bad. I'm like, what's bad? All of the messages between Sarah and the young lady was shared. And even if you cut out parts, there's some screenshots that you see her trying to get this young lady to finance her a computer, trying to get an old computer for near nothing. The young lady's trying to tell her it's an old computer, and she's like, well, has it been updated? Does it have, I mean, you're getting it for near nothing. And she was trying to tell me that she only bought the old laptop to help the young lady because the young lady needed money. And she needed money because she had given Fancy all of her money. And she was just trying to help her out. But then the screenshots come out, and it's so much more than that. She's not trying to help her out by giving her money
Well,
because she ended up only
she,
covering
but she told it
shipment.
to me on Tottie's live on the interview Toddy did with her.
I
She
haven't watched
explained
Toddy's
it.
live.
Well, she explained it that Fancy wanted her to give a job because she wanted to help them and help the company, and so find something for her to
Okay.
do. And
That
so
was
for
never
her,
said to me.
she thought this was finding her something to do, help her find a computer. That's not how you help somebody and help the company. You give them a case.
Okay. The story she told me, which I have it in text message, the story she told me was that Fancy didn't want to deal with her. That she aggravates Fancy to death.
I
And
agree, Bubbles.
and she just don't want to, and she told Sarah, because Sarah's tenderhearted, and she told Sarah that she gives the company a lot of money, and she needed her there and said, Sarah, you start talking to her. That was the story that was told to me, and I have that in proof that that's the story. This other story that you're saying, that where did she say that?
She was on Tottie's.
Is that the older lady?
Yeah.
The one with the glass? Okay.
Toddy
All
wants
right. Okay. I've never heard that about giving her a job at all. Never heard that at all. Just Fancy didn't want to deal with her, but told Sarah that
you deal with her. I don't want to
she
deal with her.
she don't want to deal with her. I don't know if it was she don't want to deal with her. She just ain't got time for her. That's I think that was what was said. She ain't got time for her, but she gives the company a lot of money, and Sarah has a big heart, and Sarah could deal with her. I never heard nothing else. And then the story about the old laptop come up, that the young lady needed money. She needed help. And there was a $70 price tag put on the computer at first. And because she had told me at one time that she had paid $70 for it, but then that changed to the father packed it for the young lady, and they ended up only charging her, I think it was $40, which was close to what shipping was on it because of the way it was packed or something. I don't know. But in those text messages, she's asking questions about when's the last time it's been updated. Are you sure it works? And that she's just got a old piece of crap iPad or tablet or something. And she's asking her about getting her a new one at Walmart. And could she, am I right about this? Because I don't want to misstate anything. Did she not want her to finance a computer for
She
her?
asked her in those messages. She asked her about the financing one.
And then she said something too about speakers, didn't she? Or headset?
I don't remember.
I remember something in them about, do you have this too at Walmart? And her knowing they do. But I would have to go back and read, because I just remember that sticking out. Like, it wasn't just a laptop. She was asking for something else, but I don't remember what it was. After those text messages were shown, and what I mean by all of those text messages was Fancy proved she gave her $200 back. And Fancy gave us more receipts to prove her side of the story than Sarah gave. And Sarah can say that I gave her one day to give me the receipts, but I can show you proof from the very first day we started talking and she was going to get away from Fancy. I kept saying, get everything you can get so you can prove your story. Every time she would tell me a story, I would say, do you have receipts of this, because I can't put it out there without the receipts. Yes, I do. I do. Well, get it to me. And she would never get me nothing. I got a $10 proof of the $10, and I got the same text message of that Into the Weeds read. And that was the only, it was the same exact one. So she could prove how mean Fancy was to her.
But
it was,
what Into the Weeds showed is the exact same stuff we had.
yeah, exactly. The exact same thing. And like I said, she used that last conversation with someone that was a relationship breaking apart after a whirlwind, hurricane, typhoon of a vacation or whatever it was to Missouri, where they now have actually seen, met, and realized what each other is, because I'm sure they both got on each other's nerves. So the relationship's falling apart. The court case is bulling up under their feet. They're going to be hateful to each other. But she could not one time show me one text message from the time she started talking to Fancy to the end of the break apart of Fancy ever treating her like that. Do I believe Fancy is capable of it and probably did? Absolutely. If she don't get her way, she can be hateful and snappy. We've seen her be hateful and snappy when they were on live together. But she said she had text message, all this, of how mean Fancy was to her. Never sent me nothing. Then these other ladies that come in the live that night, and they were going on at her and calling her out on stuff. She kept trying to tell me that she had all of that too, and the way they treated her. And some girl named Macy was coming after her and lied about a bunch of things, and she had all of that proof. And she was going to send it. Never. So when I say that I'm waiting for everyone else to get egg on their face, that's sitting here saying she's credible, and that, what was that you told me that the one lady said that she's very articulate, very smart or intelligent, you said. I'm not saying she's not. She very much had the wool over my eyes. Because like I said, she knows Fancy. She knows what to say. I hated Fancy. Right? She was my nemesis. She was able to give me everything that she knew I needed to hear, and I found it to fit in all the puzzle pieces. So therefore, I believed Sarah. And of course, if I could discredit Fancy with the information that Sarah was giving me, all the better, which is exactly what's going on now. Y'all hate Fancy. You're coming after Fancy. So let's take Sarah and put her on a pedestal because she sounds like she's telling the truth. And again, like Brandy said, there's a lot of that trip. I 100% believe she's telling the truth. But the other stuff that she flat out lied about and let us get egg on our face on a live in front of what we had that night. I don't remember how many people. It was a lot. That's going to happen to y'all too. Mm-hmm. And this little situation, and Brandy might want to go into this a little bit more because I'm just so done with all this shit. The story she sat and told y'all the other night about Dawn and the emails and Nick and Christy and Gypsy, where would she have heard that story?
She wasn't around in that time.
Right. She wasn't here, but where would she have heard that? She would have heard it from who? From Fancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all say that Fancy is a liar, but Sarah takes something that Fancy told her and runs to y'all, and it's truth. It's truth.
Well, the only time anybody gives Fancy any credibility is when it's negative against the Blanchards.
Right, but most of y'all in this community has been around either longer than I have. I've been here since January of 2024. So y'all either been here longer than me or you've been here about the same time I have. Have y'all ever heard Fancy sit on a live or in a video or a TikTok and tell the story that Sarah told the other night? Nope. Even when y'all are coming at her, the morbid guy and all these other people that's coming at her right now about Nick, has she one time said, Gypsy helped do it and Christy helped bankroll it? Because I'm telling you, if that would have crossed Fancy's mind, she probably would have said it. Show me one place that story has come out of Fancy's mouth. That is something that Sarah pulled out of the air, out of her ass, because that's what she knows y'all want to hear.
But
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. I know where you're starting to go. Y'all hate Gypsy. You hate Christy. So therefore, you want that little story to have some meat to it. Oh, it makes sense now. Let's go. Let's call attorneys. Let's call prosecutors. We got the answer. But guess what?
Hmm?
She wasn't even around when it happened. Neither was I. Randy was, and she knows how it happened. Now, before I get into any more, do you want me to continue, Brandy?
Yeah, I'm going there. I've got my screenshots up.
Okay. So we could not understand what all was going on when Brandy sent me the clip of Sarah coming up with this story about the bankrolling and Gypsy. Our mouth is on the ground, right? We're like, we've never even heard Fancy say that. Like, that's just out of left field. But at the time, I kind of think, well, Sarah's just trying to get in with them, so she knows that's what they want to hear, the same way she did me. Tell me what I want to hear. And she just pulled that out of her ass. But she texts me. And Brandy the next day, right?
What was it, Monday? Let me look. I'll look and tell you.
Next day. So Christy texts, and I've never hit it that I'm friends with Christy. Neither has Brandy. I've been friends with Christy now for 9 months. We might talk once a month. We might talk 2 days in a month. We might talk 4 hours at a time and then not speak for 6 weeks. It's not the same relationship and friendship that Brandy and I have. If Brandy stomps her toe, I need to know about it. It's not the same way with me and Christy, or Christy and I. So
I see this. I don't see what day it. Let's see.
It was the next day after you sent me the clip. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you sent me the clip the night that story hit the wall and everybody thought they had God's word. But Christy, and I ain't heard from Christy in 3 weeks.
It was a day or two after that. Yeah.
Yeah, a month. I haven't heard from Christy. And she texts us out of the blue and she said, girls, who I just heard from out of the blue. And we're like, oh God, who?
I'm not even gonna lie, guys. I was like, when she says the name, I was like, the one that we think is she resurrected or the other one? I thought she was trying to tell me Dawn Brown wasn't dead. I was like, what the hell?
She said, Dawn. And we're like, Brandy did. Brandy's like, she resurrected? Because, there's questions out there whether or not she's really, passed away or not. God help her. And Christy sends it to us. And it's Dawn saying, hi, Christy, this is Dawn. I don't know if you remember me or not, but.
Here, I'll read it. I didn't send this one to my computer, but I can read it.
Okay.
That way they can hear. Let's see. Oh, my phone is skipping. Okay. Christy, do you remember me? I need to talk to you about a person trying to say that you guys made me talk to Nick, you and Gypsy. Is there any way you can tell Gypsy to email or message me? She gives her number and her email. She can also hit me up on Snapchat, so she knows that she can erase her text. And then she can see. I would never invade her privacy. I have those emails that will make Gypsy look good. I still want you to read them, and the world will see how demented he is. So, she still have a bad opinion of Nick, and that's fine.
Well, she had a different relationship with Nick.
Right.
So, and me and Brandy's like shocked. And then Christy tells us that this has freaked Gypsy out. Gypsy's never spoken to the girl. Why would Gypsy mess up her little life that she's got going now to talk to her co-defendant, ex? Because she don't want nothing to do with it. Gypsy don't want nothing to do with it. And Christy tells us that, and we're like, oh, blame her. Why would she? Why would she? So me and Brandy again is talking like, something's weird's going on here. Sarah comes out with this crazy left field story that Fancy's never even told. And then all of a sudden, now Dawn is contacting Christy asking, do you remember me?
I mean, we're immediately going, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, what's happening here? But then, as we're coming up with me and Brandy, not me, Brandy and Christy, because Christy's always, listen, I love the girl, but she's always got her freaking head in the sand. Most of the time, I know y'all think y'all bother her and that she cares what y'all. And I know people ain't going to believe this because it's coming from me, but I get so pissed off because she don't know what's going on out here. And it feels like me and Brandy at one point in time and part of a lot of other people that love them are out here fighting battles. And she's got her head in the damn sand. She don't even know what's going on. And she's like, what? When? Who? And if she hears this, I'm sorry, Christy, I love you, but I'm straight up. I tell her like it is. Like I call her Ostrich. That's my nickname for her. Hey, Ostrich. Seriously. So me and Brandy then are talking to each other, and we're like, what the hell is going on?
And
I tell Brandy, I said, Fancy's never said nothing like that. Sarah's out here coming out of the closet again.
Well, and you asked Fancy, and you text her and asked her, and then we were trying to see if she would come out and say, of course I've never said that. And she doubled down, and the message was just weird. We were like, what is she doing?
Well, even before that, though, when we had to tell Christy, because Christy's like, what's going on? Because she didn't know why Dawn was reaching out to her or what that meant that Dawn had said about there's somebody out here saying you were out. Christy's like, what's going on? So we have to inform Christy that, look, Sarah's out here.
Bunny says that's why our conversations are always 5, 57, 64, 65 hours long. I got to explain everything.
Exactly. Who said that?
Bunny.
I mean, like, swear the woman. She drives me crazy. I mean, I've even told her, I'm not going to fight you fights if you ain't going to fight them for you yourself because you don't even try. And she's like, I just don't care. She just don't. So anyway, to back up a little bit of me and Brandy having to explain to Christy what Sarah's out here saying, Christy makes a funny remark. And she's like, even Fancy would tell y'all that I didn't have nothing to do with it. Even Fancy would tell us she didn't have nothing to do with it. And it's all rolling in our mind like, again, we've never heard this story from anywhere. So I give Fancy the chance to, and I tell Brandy, I was like, this is going to decide where I go with Fancy because I know that me and Fancy's got very different views on a lot of things. And I know she's clouded by hate and she loves conspiracies and assumptions and those kind of things. But there's still a part of her, and y'all can hate me for this, and I know Brandy's probably going to hate me for this, but there's a part of Fancy that I have some respect for. And that is she's been knocked down by so many people. And it's not respecting her material or anything. It's the respect of she's been knocked down by so many people over and over. And you can say what you want to, but she still tries to get up and go again. It might not be productive, but you can't knock her down. And she just keeps getting up. And I have respect for that characteristic of her. So I'm talking to Fancy and I'm like, oh my God, here I'm going to have to end up taking a day off to get shit organized about Sarah again because she's out here lying and she's disrespecting and discrediting Brandy. And I don't give a shit what she says about me. I really don't care. But it bothers me what she's saying about Brandy because it's bothering Brandy. And I'm like, I'm going to have to take a day off and try to organize shit because I'm not going to let this happen. So I text Fancy and I'm like, why would Sarah say that? And I forget exactly what I said, but it's like, why? I was like, Fancy, you've never even said that. Me expecting her to say, no, I've never even said nothing like that. But what she responds with is, well, because of what was going on back then, I've suspected that she was involved. Well, that's a first. That,
He's never, ever told me that, ever.
no, or has ever said it on a live. So then I start thinking about a conversation that me and Fancy had when we were talking about Sarah had missed court, and then Fancy overslept and she missed court. And now they both missed court, and neither one of them's, unless they happen to go to Missouri and get stopped, it's done. It's not big enough for anybody to come after them, or I wouldn't think they would. And like, they both did the same thing. They both got a different story, but they both missed court. And I'm not trying to discredit either one of their stories. They both might be telling the truth why they missed court. They both could be lying. I don't know, but they both missed court. Right? Okay, so they missed court. All of that stress now is gone. And here they're coming up with the same little narrative. And then I think back about a conversation me and Fancy had when I was like, we were talking about the Missouri court system and some of the things they did, whether you like Fancy or you don't like Fancy, or you like Sarah and you don't like Sarah. There's some things that happen in Missouri with those situations that was not right. It just wasn't right. And like I said, whether you like them or not, it's just certain laws were not followed on the court side. So we were talking about that one day, and Fancy says to me, maybe I should reach out to Sarah. And I was shocked that she said that. I'm like, are you crazy? One, what went through my mind is, you've accused her of kidnapping. I didn't say that, but I'm like, you've accused her of kidnapping. But it was weird to me that she would say, maybe I should reach out to her, or I don't know, she said maybe I should reach out to her, or I thought about, reaching out to her.
Oh, thank you, Bunny.
And I say, are you nuts? Are you crazy? So now I'm thinking, this is weird. And still there's a part missing. There's something still not adding up here. Why does Fancy now have all these people coming after her over Nick? All of y'all. Every clique that she's ever had, and it's like high school. There's so many cliques, and I've been in one of the cliques too, so I'm not putting nobody down. But it's like a bunch of high school women that's in their 30s, 40s, and 50s in little cliques. And everyone now is against Fancy over Nick.
Oh, and if you happen, hold on real quick, guys. Some of y'all may be new to YouTube, you can click on the gifted membership and accept gifted memberships and get a free membership to the channel when somebody gives. But thank you so much, Bunny, for gifting a membership and becoming a member. Yay, that's my first gifted membership. Ha!
So, congratulations, babe. So, again, there's something missing. Why is Sarah spinning this tale we've never heard? And now Fancy's kind of on text message with us saying, well, maybe she was involved. And then Dawn's reaching out to Christy saying, hey, somebody's telling this story. And do you even remember me? But do y'all remember back on a live where Fancy said that she had reached out to Dawn? And Dawn I guess it's fine to put out there, Dawn was in a bad place, a very bad place back in those. And I'm not making excuses for Dawn. I've never spoken to her.
I'm going to get into that with the text message.
To this, I've never yet spoken to Dawn. I would like to, but
we're going to
spoken to her. But Fancy told everybody that she had reached out there, and that Dawn had told her that she's in a much better place now. She's went on with her life. She's made something of her life, and that she don't want nothing to do with any of this crap, and that Fancy needs to leave her alone. That's how Fancy told us. But what we ended up finding out was Dawn was threatened, because now we got Sarah telling this crazy story, And now we got Fancy on text message with Dawn trying to create the same story.
And y'all got to stop and think. When we made amends with Fancy, she did a lot of trying to convince us how bad things were and how awful Christy was and different things. There were several heated arguments, and she never, ever, ever said this to me and Kendall, ever, to try and sway us.
Never.
This was,
Never.
and so this is why this shocked me this week. This really kind of like, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Because it just didn't, it was so left field. And
Yeah,
then
because me,
put the pieces together.
me and Brandy has always been on the side that we agree that we want Nick to be able to get his a fair day in court.
He
You know,
should
we've always been on that.
a better trial. He should have had, I wish he'd have had a better sentencing. I am
Yeah.
all about it. Thank you, Rebrand. Oh, you guys are so sweet.
So, like I said, I know I'm repeating myself on this, but it's just I want y'all to see it, and I want you to like put it together. And maybe me and Brandy's not because I hate conspiracies, but this crazy story Sarah's telling because she knows that's what y'all want to hear, or is it this crazy story because Fancy's trying to bring Christy? Because why would Fancy bring Christy into the emails with Nick when there's proof that Christy and Gypsy never had anything to do with the emails ever? Those emails were written way before Christy and Gypsy had ever talking, or I don't because Gypsy's ever talking to Dawn, but before Dawn decided not to move in with Fancy. Christy had nothing to do with it. So, but now that's the story. And then we had proof that Fancy says to Dawn in this email. I mean, in this
I'm going
text.
to open these up in just a minute and read them. And then
Okay.
we get to the one part, we'll pause and you can do your other part here. So I told Christy, ask Dawn if she'll talk to me. Dawn and I had only had a handful of conversations. When I know that's what they were saying.
Wait. You got to explain why you would ask Christy for Dawn to speak to you.
I'm going to. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Because we said Christy told us that Dawn reached out to her.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
and Christy said, it's insane, Brandy. And I said, ask her if she'll speak to me, because we had never had private conversations. We were in the by proxy group chat and everyone was talking about, if I don't remember the Nick infiltration group, but my God, that was almost 6 years ago. There could have been Fancy called it a Nick, but I don't know. I don't remember any of that. So I'm not going to say it did or didn't happen. I mean, you can look at the proof of what's been shown. It's there. And when the video that y'all have shown with them interviewing Amanda and Fancy and Dawn on panel, and they're interviewing Dawn, I wasn't even a part of the team then. I was in the chat because I had been in the Facebook groups giving Dawn a hard time. Like I kind of went pretty hard at her. And then it was about a week later, I think, maybe 2, that I joined the team. And when Dawn was supposed to be moving to Kentucky and disappeared, I think I had literally been on the team about a week or 2. So,
and what year was this?
This was in 2019. This would have been July 2019 ish, August, around in there. So we had never had any conversations, so I didn't know if she would talk to me. And she agreed to talk to me. And I asked her, if she would send me the screenshots of the conversations with Fancy, because they said it was bad. And
we could not understand why Sarah was telling the story.
And when she sent it to me, I text Kendall and said, oh my God, this is worse than we thought. Hi, Steve. How are you doing, bud? Hope you're doing good, babe. So I'm going to show you all these screenshots. And we're going to talk about it, because we had some light bulbs go off that are making Kendall and I go, what the fuck is happening? So let me screen share this right here. share this. Okay, so let's see if y'all can see that. Y'all probably can't. So let me move. I think let's do this. Okay. And let's see. If I do this, can y'all see it better? Does that make it bigger on the screen? I can't see the screen. Yeah, it makes it a little bit bigger. Okay. So this is between Fancy and Dawn. This was an older message, just first one. She says, "No way, God, that was so many years ago. I've been through a lot and struggled to find love, but I've been working hard to heal. I'm actually thriving now. I'm in college pursuing my bachelor's in business management, and I've made the dean's list while taking honors classes. So no, that's not me anymore." So I don't know what the message was before that. I want to make it clear, and this in purple is Dawn. I want to make it clear that I would never again be so naive to associate with or support someone who has committed murder, regardless of their mental capacity. I have seen the malicious emails sent to me, and I refuse to believe that I deserve that kind of treatment. I have no interest in being associated with someone like that. And I would never support them publicly or in any form of media ever again. So Fancy in this response back in August, "Thanks, Dawn. Do you still talk to Natasha?" She says that you do. And then she says, "I am proud of you. Good luck in a you do." I don't know. People keep trying to say I sent you in to Nick, and we both know it's not true. And she just responds, "But I haven't spoken to anyone in a long time." And then she sends her a game thing. So the 21st of January this year, a couple weeks ago, "Dawn, I need you to do me a solid. I need to know something. Did Gypsy and Christy get you to talk to Nick originally? And would you be willing to come out and do one interview with me telling everyone I had nothing to do with that?" She said, "No, they didn't. No one asked me to talk to Nick. I did that on my own." And she says, "Okay." She says, "Because I felt bad for him. But I don't want anything to do with any of this. I have a great life now." She says, "Okay. But it did seem like you were trying to manipulate him to respond in a certain way. I'm glad you have a good life." No, you had me do that. You told me.
Stop. She wasn't getting the responses from Dawn that she wanted, so she's trying to manipulate her to get her to admit to something that wasn't fact.
Because the old Dawn would have just kind of gone with whatever was being said. That is how she was before. But she says, no. And if y'all are responding in chat, I'll be there in a minute because I can't see the screen right now. No, you had me do that. You told me to write him to get him to tell me things. I have the messages still. I absolutely did not, and you know it. From you and Amanda, or a man and a, I don't know what that was a major typo. Bye. I'm not doing this with you. You cannot use my personal email from Nick either. So please leave me alone and stop harassing me, or I will get a harassment charge against you. And I spoke to a lawyer. Fancy, leave me alone. No, sorry, you signed a contract. Bye, from Fancy. And then it gets, okay, I'm going to pause here. No, I'm not. I'm going to finish reading this. And then you can pick up with where you come up with your conclusion.
Okay.
I think. Or do you want to go into what you come up with?
No, go ahead, because they need to hear the threat, because nothing else is going to make sense of why Dawn would have reached out to Christy, who she really don't even know, asking her, "Do you even remember me?"
And this
without
is why,
the threat
and
without Sarah's story.
And this is why I'm saying this, guys, because I wasn't going to fight with Fancy anymore because I really just don't care. I'm over it. Like it is never ending. But this message right here has sent me over the edge with her because she threatens her, and she threatens her in a real life kind of way. So Fancy, here's my warning. If you're here and you support Fancy and you're going to run back and tell her I said anything, you can make sure to give her this warning. If you use this woman's private information that she spoke to you in confidence with to hurt her, remember the things you told me back around Craig's birthday and the other situation that you don't want out in public. So if you go there with her, I am fully prepared to give that information. And I've never done that, but I am not going to let you scare and hurt this woman because she speaks the truth.
And Dawn has been gone.
She's been gone. Like, not.
She ain't bothered nobody. Nobody. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm getting back to it.
They need to hear the threat.
So here's how this is going to go. I will use
This is fancy talking.
This is fancy. So here's how this is going to go. I will use every email you ever gave me, every text we ever had, every scam you ever ran. Don't try me, Dawn. I have it all. So I suggest that you don't put yourself in a position to just be. Oh, I could have gone on to the next page and not have to do this. Yourself in a position to just be collateral damage. You want to stay laying low, then do that, because nothing is going to stop me exposing every piece of this. So you choose how far this goes. Do you want me to post all of the kitchen shit you scammed or the horrid shit that you said about your mom and brothers? Do you want me to prove just how deep you were in this? Because I can and I will. You choose how far this exposure goes. You say you have a beautiful life now, and I hope that's true, and you cherish that, because I've already seen comments where people are claiming to be you. So if it is you, I don't think you want this mess right now. It's all going to surface eventually. I don't want to blow your life apart, Dawn. I know what the low life you are, and I simply don't care. Don't make me want to care. The end, period. Go back to the swamp you crawled out of, and I tried to be good to you in all of this, tried to support you in so many ways. You took that kindness and exploited it and lied. You want all of that out there, so be it. I'd love to see you in court. Bring it, babe.
And the thing with Dawn about the things that she did back then, she had issues. That's not who she is today. She will take accountability for the things she did. So there's nothing to hold over her head. Nothing. When somebody has changed their life and has worked on who they used to be to become someone different, part of being someone different and healing is taking accountability. Because without it, you still got holes in your story. So there's nothing to hold over her head.
Well, and I sent Dawn. I'm gonna tell you what, guys. If you have questions for her, send them, because I'm gonna ask them, and we're going to do an interview. I don't know if it's going to be a live yet. I think it may be better if it's recorded, because
we're not bringing her on a live.
No, and it is going to be what she is comfortable with. But that threat right there, that is Fancy not getting her to say what she wanted to, so she went on the attack. And
it was Dawn admitting that she's got the proof that Fancy sent her in to Nick. Because we always said that we knew she probably did, but there's never going to be proof of it.
Well, so here's the thing. Because I was in those Facebook groups. There was a group, and I don't know if it's the same NPG that's here now that everybody talks about, or if it was a different one. So I can't say if it's the same Nick supporters there and on the Facebook days in 2019 as to now. I don't know if they're the same people. But Dawn was in that group, and that's how she formed the group, was she was already emailing Nick, and she joined up with the supporters, and we were kind of like calling her out on her shit then, and I was rough on her. I'm not gonna lie, I was not very.
Yeah, because y'all were very pro Gypsy back then.
We were, and the groups were just crazy. Like, I talked about the Facebook wars and it being insane, and so when she came over, there was a threat. She was being threatened. Well. There was a big fallout, and she's going to explain that in her own words with the supporters that she was friends with. One of them running back to Nick. I've even emailed Nick myself and told him what was going on when I walked away. So it you know, they, let's see, where was I going with that? My train of thought just kind of scattered. I do not believe she originally sent her. I just don't. She just said in that her own text, no, I went on my own before I ever met you. I mean, that's
There was a real relationship before Fancy, before the Facebook groups, with Dawn and Nick. It was a real relationship at one point in time.
and Dawn was not healthy back then. She was not mentally healthy. When
Well,
things
obvious if she's going to prisons and finding somebody to talk to, she couldn't have been in a good, healthy state of mind.
right. So now there were some messages, and that's the computer I keep talking about I can't get into, that have Amanda telling her specific things, and I'm not going to say because I don't remember the exact wording and I don't want to have it wrong, and when it comes out somebody say Brady lied because that's not what she said. But she was basically telling her to make sure to get him to react, and that came from Amanda. So that's why I have always said I've never seen it from Fancy. I've seen it from Amanda. And with the stuff that I learned this last year about Tori, I firmly believe that it could have been Tori involved. That's why I was on that train. So I'm going to apologize right now. It was not Tori. I absolutely fucking hate saying that. But right is right and wrong is wrong. I blame Tori because that's kind of where I was going with it with the other stuff that I learned that Tori had pulled. It was not Tori. Tracy, if you're still here, it wasn't Tori. I have to retract that. Fancy has always sworn to me that she never was a part of that conversation with Amanda. Never. That's not
but
what
now we have Dawn saying, no, that was you, Fancy.
Dawn approached Fancy and her team to help her because she was being threatened. Thank you, Eddie. That I was going with that while ago and sidetracked myself. She felt supposedly there was a threat. They thought it was Bobby Godejohn, then it was Natasha. I don't know if there really was a threat or if she felt a threat or if it was all a lie. That I don't know. There was a threat, and that's why she approached Fancy for help, and they brought her into the team. And there is an email.
Why would they bring her in? Why would they bring her into the team? They brought her into the team because she's got all this information on Nick, and they wanted it.
Well, and she asked, what kind of compensation will there be if you guys don't want these emails? Somebody will. That was said, and
which is a shitty thing.
It was shitty. Now,
Shitty thing?
all I know that ever happened, but let's face it, Fancy didn't have money, doesn't have money. I had to pay to ship a coffee cup to somebody one time. I had made a coffee cup and somebody had won it, and I had to pay out of my own pocket to ship that because Fancy didn't have the money to pay for the shipping. And the only reason she paid me back some of that was because she wanted me to remove some of my blog posts that she likes to tell everybody I deleted. I deleted them because she asked me to, and basically said, I'll only pay you this money if you remove them. Let's see, Bunny just said that.
No, she don't have contact with Nick anymore. This was back in 2019.
This was all in 2019.
I don't want this all twisted. New narratives out there.
Right. No. This was in 2019, not current. And so when we those screenshots of the infiltration group that have been posted, what does it say on I don't remember what it even says up on the top. It says Nick information or Nick something group, and then in a voice message she says the Nick infiltration group. So I don't that when Dawn came on, that group was made, to my understanding. That was before me, again, even though somebody wants to say it wasn't. I actually don't remember the group. I need to do a search to see if it pulls up that I was ever in it, because I don't remember it. But I mean, let's face it, Fancy has 500 fucking chat groups. So now that's to my understanding how it all went down then. When I was there,
at no time did Gypsy, through the jail system giving anybody.
Okay, but Christy, that was after Dawn had already come. And yes, that I say we because I was a part of the team at one point in all of this. Actually, I wasn't. Technically I wasn't when Ken was still there because they had huge falling out with Ken, and she couldn't stand Ken. So all of that happened before me. It was right after that I came on. Make sure I make those words clear. And she was using the emails.
Fancy has the energy of a damn crack.
And she was getting her to keep emailing him to get more information and get him to react certain ways to use that for the show. Does that make sense? So people are kind of getting it confused, and that she sent her in the beginning to do all that. She was already in a relationship with Nick when she came to by proxy. That relationship was already there. It was in the Facebook groups. That was how she was a part of those groups. And that was why she came to Fancy for protection from the threat. I'm using quotes. And all of that. Hi, Harley Kim. So I'm hoping, does that,
hey, Harley.
Is that clear as mud? So
we're kind of all over the place. It makes sense to us, so hopefully it makes sense to them.
There, because when I got these messages, I text Kendall and I sent it to her and I said, "Oh my fucking God, look what we have right now." And this is where Kendall, pick it up, Kendall.
Okay. So again, to repeat myself for the 30th time, why do we have Sarah over on that woman's page or that live and spilling this story that none of us has ever heard about the bankrolling?
That's why I'm speaking up. I don't want to keep talking about this. Somebody said that I just kind of, clicks and views. Well, everybody talking about all this shit is about clicks and views, so get the fuck over it. I'm actually trying to bring up the truth because I was fucking there. It's not people that just joined the TikTok scene and the case and coming out with it. And let's face it, last year at this time, I called all this shit out and talked about these emails and nobody wanted to listen. Nobody.
Well, half the people that now hates Fancy was pro Fancy then. So what you had to say then was you were bad because you were telling the truth then, just like you're telling the truth now. But back then, those certain cliques, they were on Fancy's side. They didn't hate her. So, and which, again, I think that's what's happening now. Some of y'all hate Fancy so much, you're going to take any of it and be like, a light bulb goes off. This makes sense because it's Fancy. And if it's bad about Fancy, it's got to be true.
Oh, and let's hold on. I got to ask this one because this has been said, and I'm going to ask Kendall. Kendall, am I sitting with Fancy? Have I been sitting with Fancy?
No.
What was it? Early December, late November? Right?
Yeah, there was a big blow up.
Big blow up.
I remember what it was
because
about.
we're cordial and I go into a chat does not mean I'm sitting with her. I like to be cordial with people because I just don't want to keep fighting. I'm over it. There's too much in life.
So
thank you, Steve.
So we got
I caused you to get off track again. I'm sorry. I just had to ask that.
So again, we got this story we've never heard about the bankrolling and Gypsy being a part of it coming out of Sarah's mouth to people that think she's credible and believes everything she says instead of people that was with her, which, again, the story we've never heard. And then we got Fancy trying to manipulate Dawn to say that Christy was a part of it. And then we got Christy being like, "You're not going to ever believe who reached out to me." And we get the email with this big threat after Dawn says, "No, that was you. Not Christy. That was you." Now, how does Sarah have the same story that Fancy's trying to spin over here?
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden that none of us has ever heard. How could that be possible? And it would be different if Sarah would have told the story that we've all heard, that Fancy I think Fancy had something to do with it, but she says she didn't. Dawn was supposed to live at her house and screwed her over and took off. And I was good, Fancy was good to her. And yes, Fancy, and because I know y'all want to hear that Fancy was in on it with Nick. So if Sarah would have said that, y'all would have gobbled that up. But that ain't what Sarah says. She adds so much more details to it, vivid details. That's barefaced lies. But it's the same lie that Fancy's trying to weasel and manipulate Dawn to say, except Dawn's stronger now and don't want nothing to do with this. Just plain out said, no, it wasn't Christy. That was you, Fancy. And then you got Christy taking up for Fancy, saying, Fancy would even tell you that I didn't have nothing to do with that. So how could Fancy and Sarah have this same story at the same time?
Kristen.
And why is Sarah? I know she don't like Brandy because Brandy's got no love lost for her. Like I said, even though I'm so upset with Sarah, me and Brandy are so different with certain things. I have still went to heart.
We have a point to go with why we think she's out from underneath that rock now. We'll get there.
Right, but I have went to Harley Kim several times since mine and Sarah's big blowout, secretly, and I not even told Brandy because Brandy would be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Like 2 days ago, told me this, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
I secretly went to Harley Kim. Everyone, it's been a while since I have, but I have went to Harley and said, "How is Sarah? How is Sarah doing?" And I've even thanked Kim because Sarah hated Kim. She's called her a prostitute, a drunk, a wino. She hated her. I knew Kim was an amazing person, and and this was back whenever, I don't know, April, May, I don't know, when all this conversation, and I wanted Sarah to take responsibility or accountability for what she said about Kim and to give Kim a chance. And in the process of that, I never meant for them to be buddies, but I wanted Kim to get an apology. And they ended up becoming friends. And I know people get mad at her because she defends Pink Cat, but everybody needs somebody, and it's none of our business who is friends. I don't agree with her taking up for Pink Cat, but again, I'm always going to defend Brandy, and if I think she's wrong when we're by ourselves, I'm going to be like, bitch, you were wrong. But publicly, I'm still going to be like,
look, she just told me to shut up Tuesday. Shut up and stay off YouTube.
Yeah, it's like, I got to work. I can't handle you doing this. Like, just shut up. Next day I texted her and I was like, are you being good? But because I was rough, and but that's just how me and Brandy are. But so I've always had still a little bit of, I pity Sarah, and I don't particularly like that word, but that's what I feel.
This is a question that we have on the list for Dawn, so I will be getting you that answer. Does that help? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just kind of wanted to address that.
But so y'all have most of the information, and we still have a little more that I don't think we need to put out. One, everybody's going to run with what they want to run with. It's not going to change the way they feel about Fancy or Christy or Gypsy. If they still want to run with that narrative, go for it. We can easily prove it's a lie, but you go for it. Go for it. I've got a big spatula and I got a big pan that I will send you when it's time to wipe the egg off your face, because I've washed it because I got all the egg off mine. But why do we think that these two stories that nobody's ever heard all of a sudden are coming out? That Fancy's trying to create this story, bringing Dawn into it, wanting Dawn to be her fall guy, or wanting Dawn to do an interview saying, "Oh, Fancy didn't have anything to do with it." Dawn don't bite at the apple and says, "Absolutely, you did. That was you." And she's trying her best to get Dawn to say Christy had something to do with it. At the same time, Sarah's trying to tell everybody Christy had something to do with it.
Why?
Why
are these stories popping up like that?
And why are they the only two people that's ever tried to spin that part of
And
the
why
story.
all of a sudden is Pink Cat, as sick as she supposedly is?
Yeah, because she told me she wouldn't even be alive by the first of the year.
I mean, she's been
And
claiming for months that she is
on
horribly,
her deathbed. Yeah.
and if
And
she,
thank God she's not. Like I told Brandy the other day, she sounded very strong. I'm glad that she, I'm glad, because God knows I went through cancer, I went through treatment, and I will tell you 6 and 7 months after I started my treatment, I wasn't on lives. And I know everybody's story is different, but most of the time I didn't even know where my phone was, nor did I care. But everybody's thing's different. I'm not saying she's not sick, but I have my doubts that it's as bad as she claims it is, for the way she's acting now and still caring to clear her name. And she don't want to be dragged through the mud, but she's been hiding in the shadows all this time. And then all of a sudden, Fancy's getting attacked, and here comes Sarah out to tell the same story Fancy's telling. And everything she has said on these panels and said about Fancy, it's not new news. It's old news. It's old news. So what if those two are still talking, or have started talking again? It don't make sense, right? Sarah's trying to get everybody to hate Fancy. It wouldn't make sense. But what did it do? It got everybody because Sarah has been dragged through the mud. At one point in time, like I said, I thanked Kim secretly for being her friend, because I knew she had done so many shitty things sitting beside Fancy and said some derogatory things that most people wasn't even giving her a chance. There was a lot of people that's like, nope, I don't want. I had her going on people's lives, and those people would contact me and it's like, I don't want her there, but I ain't got the heart to say get out. So I know she's not had no one. I even said the other day, before all this happened, when did Sarah get so much support again? Nobody wanted to talk to Sarah until people started having a problem with Fancy. And then everybody wanted to hear her story. And no matter what her story is, which I will have to say, Into the Weeds did a good job. I've just seen clips of the other woman, but Into the Weeds did a very good job of holding her to the fire on certain things. But you just let it go. Like when she had the funniest thing that I've seen was her say, "Oh, I thought you just meant you wanted me to prove the $10." And the daughter said, "No, I meant the whole, the whole Cash App uh, whatever, whatever it's called." But she had told me that it was her bank statement that she had spent all the money. Maybe you were just asking for how much money she got sent while it was the Cash App. But we were talking about the lie. She said that she spent $500 out of her own pocket. So maybe that was two different things. But I knew Sarah was not going to send anybody any evidence, no facts, no receipts, except the little bit that we had already been sent, which had already been showed on Brandy's channel. But now y'all take it and you find her credible, and y'all just eat up everything she's doing. You're making decisions based on the things she's telling you that affect other people's lives without making sure it's factual. And why are you doing that? Because she sounds intelligent. I find her credible. Do some real research. Talk to people that already dealt this and ask for the proof of how uncredible she is. But to get back, how did she get this story that Fancy's also trying to spill and nobody else on the interwebs has heard it? Because I'm sure if Morbid had heard it, he would definitely be putting it out. He can't stand the Blanchards and he hates Christy. Why would he not be the one to bring this story out if it's ever been told?
mm-hmm.
And he didn't, because it's never been told. So I think you are all getting played. But now, Sarah, this is what Sarah gets out of it. Now she's back on this little pedestal in this community, if y'all still want to be in this community. And and everybody's wanting to talk to her. She's been in the shadows, sneaking and hiding. And every once in a while, somebody will send us a screenshot where she's making a comment here and there. But it's also with people that were outcast. And most of the time, it's with people that's been outcast. So she's, sneaking around in the dark. And then all of a sudden, she's on big platforms. And y'all are eating it up. She's getting her attention, which is what Sarah always craved from day one with Fancy, was attention. That's why she was so pissed at Ryan. She didn't want Fancy to be with Ryan because Ryan didn't like Sarah because she's loopy.
Pause a second. Fancy, I have proof otherwise on some shit you just did. So I have nothing else to say to you right now. I am livid. And I showed the proof.
No, she did not say in that text message that Christy bankrolled anything. When I asked her about it, in that text message, I asked her, "You've never said nothing like that, Fancy." Her words were,
"Here you go, Toddy."
I had my suspicions because of what was going on back then. Instead of denying it, instead of being stand up honest and say, "No, Christy absolutely had nothing to do with that." Because the truth's the truth, and a lie is a lie, whether you hate somebody or not. Fancy, that's what you said. I got the freaking text message. You said you suspected that she was a part of it. Brandy, you got the text message too. It's on her chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bunny says she has them too.
Who?
Bunny.
So I don't know if there's this big scheme, and Brandy hates conspiracies.
Right.
I normally hate conspiracies. We've got two people that everyone's coming at that's trying to spin the same story or telling the same story to get the heat off of them. Sarah's back getting attention and people and giving her credibility back, even though she's still telling so much lies. And then Fancy's got the world coming after her for something she did back in 2019. And she's trying to spin it to get the heat off her. So,
Well,
is it possible?
Hold on. Sorry, Toddy. I thought it shared it and it didn't. My bad. That's for Toddy. Hey, Toddy.
Hey, how are you?
Doing all right, and you?
I'm all right. So you could hear me good and everything?
Yes. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
Okay, let me shut you off because I have you echoing. Okay, so we should be good now. All right. So I just I don't want to argue. I just want to have a civil conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so I just want to tell you guys something that I've been trying to get. I've tried to reach out to Sarah. A few of us I know have tried to reach out, and she, for whatever reason, didn't want to speak before. And then the next thing I know, apparently she reached out, or maybe it was Into the Weeds podcast that reached out to her, and they reached out to me, and I asked if I could please join that. So that's how that came about. I just want you to understand that that's how that came about, as far as I know.
Okay.
That interview.
So she just decided that now she's going to talk after all the hiding.
I don't know. You'd have to check with Amber if Amber from Into the Weeds reached out to her first, or if she reached out to her. I don't know. That you'd have to check out with them. I was reached out to by Amber telling me that she was going to be interviewing Sarah, and I asked if I could please join that.
Yeah, I seen that one.
Okay.
I seen that one.
But I
Yeah.
mean, that's how I got involved. I asked if I could join it. That was already set up between the two of them, so I can't tell you exactly how that came about.
I think what we're trying to say is it just seems very suspicious that the exact same claim that Sarah made about Christy paying Dawn is and being involved with that is it was something I had never heard of somebody who's been a part of this since 2019. This and many times of fighting with Fancy in the last couple of months and her trying to convince me Christy did anything. She never said that. And then all of a sudden I get messages between Dawn and Fancy from January 21st saying the exact same thing. So it was very suspicious that all of a sudden Sarah is saying that all of a sudden after all these months of hiding, and Fancy said it to Dawn. It just is very coincidental and weird.
Yeah, and I know y'all want to believe it because it can be believable. I understand wanting to believe it because if you weren't there and you haven't seen proof, it could sound legit, and like it can make your light bulb go off and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And that's what Sarah's good at, is making things make sense. But we if you would talk to people that were there, you would know that there's no connection. And then people saying that, she's credible and all that, but nobody has checked except going on her words. And y'all are falling for the same. And I don't. What is your name? I'm sorry.
Toddy.
Okay. Toddy. I understand when you talk to someone and she is very good with her words. She's very sure how she speaks. And when you know someone, like we all know Fancy's behavior and her personality, we know those characteristics. So then when you've got someone telling you this story that you absolutely goes right along with what you know about the person, you're like, oh, okay, it must be all true. But it's not. But it's not. And we still can't figure out why Sarah, who's not supposedly hates Fancy and hasn't talked to Fancy and God knows when, comes up with this off the wall story that no.
Hello?
Uh-oh, where'd you go?
I'm here, but I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can. Kendall, did you just kick yourself?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah,
I hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I live in the mountains. The mountains don't like internet. So we're just wondering, how did this story that Sarah come up with, and she's not supposedly talking to Fancy, but Fancy's behind the scenes trying to create this story that Sarah's saying happened.
So
and threatening Dawn.
Can you see the screenshot up here?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, Toddy.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, I can. Let me see.
This is between Fancy and Dawn Balker. I am in communications with her.
Yeah. I think that I want to say that I think that I've seen that, but so I want to answer some of your question. I mean, I don't know.
Wait. I'm sorry, Toddy. You've seen which one are you showing, Brandy?
I'm showing the one where
I've gotten so many of these. I mean, unfortunately,
this just happened on the 21st.
Okay, I was starting to say, wait, how does anybody else have this?
Nancy approached Dawn wanting to get Dawn to say that Christy was behind all of that. And as soon as Dawn says, no one asked me to talk to Nick. I did all that on my own. And then she goes into asking her, but it did seem like you manipulated him to respond in a certain way. And then she was like, no, you had me do that.
Mm-hmm.
So when Dawn tells her this, Fancy goes into threatening to bring her real life to this platform.
Okay, but I guess what I'm questioning is like, Give me just 1 second because I want to word this correctly. It seems to me like you guys or Kendall that you're assuming, or I don't know what the truth is. So I don't know what Christy has done. I really don't know what Fancy has done, except that we now have proof because of leaked stuff that Fancy had an infiltration group. We've seen that. We've seen that
Right.
leaked thing that, okay. So there are things that we have actually seen that you can't take back, right?
Right.
As
Right.
far as, okay, so as far as Christy being involved in that, I didn't say, oh my God, that's true.
I know.
Because,
I didn't say that you did. We were just trying
right,
to
so
make
No,
I
sure.
I
don't know
did.
that. So,
I
well,
did.
I
Well,
don't know that. But wait, Kendall, I don't know that that's true, and I didn't say that that's true. I responded to it with a look where my jaw dropped, but
maybe that's what because I only seen clips.
yeah, but I'm
gonna
allowed
try
to have a react. That's
Right.
a reaction,
Okay.
right? That's not me
Absolutely.
saying, "Oh my God, that's the Bible. That's true." I don't know that to be true, and I've never seen anything about that. So I'm not perpetuating that. I'm not perpetuating. But to let Sarah talk on my channel and interview her, yes, I will certainly do that. And then it's up to the people to decide. You believe what you want. I said I found her to be credible. I do. And listen, in all fairness, to compare her to Fancy, I totally believe Sarah. And not only because of the way she represents herself, but we know that Sarah did not kidnap Fancy.
Oh,
So, and we know,
absolutely.
wait a minute, but we also know that Fancy accused her of that. So Fancy's credibility keeps going down. And because Fancy's credibility keeps going down, it does bring Sarah's story up. It brings her credibility up. Now, is she telling 100% truth? I don't know. But I've never said, listen, guys, she's saying 100% truth. I said, I find her credible. I find her candid. And I find that her story is exactly the same. And do I believe her? Yes, I do. That didn't mean that I believed her about the Christie thing. I do believe that Fancy told her that. And that's what she said. She only said Fancy said that. So, I
Okay,
mean,
let me ask you this. If okay,
yep.
and like I said, I'm not even in this community anymore. So, and I don't want to argue with anybody, but here's the thing that because we have been here for so long, is the story that Sarah told that night has never been told by no one else ever anywhere. Okay?
I
We've
hear you.
never heard that story, right? You have to admit that. None of us have
That's
heard it.
true. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why my
Okay.
response was jaw dropping.
Okay. So, and if I'm mistaking your jaw dropping as, oh my God, my light bulbs are going off, I completely apologize for that.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
still,
I was just shocked to hear that.
right.
I was just shocked to hear that.
So
I
are we.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
are
yeah, yeah. But
we.
I'm not perpetuating that Christy did this. I would never. I have no proof of that. I have not seen anything. That was a reaction to hearing something for the first time. End of. No light bulb went out off in my head. Nothing like that because I don't have a clue. I was just shocked when I heard it. That was
Okay.
it. That was my reaction to that.
I can accept that. Um, okay. So we've never heard that story. She drops this big story. And then we got Fancy behind the scenes trying to create the same little story and bring Christy into it and trying to get Dawn to admit the things that didn't happen to create the same story that out of the blue, Sarah pulled out of her ass and tells on, I don't know, one of y'all's platforms. So, I don't remember if it was you on Into the Weeds or the screenshot I was seeing was your actual life. I don't remember. I work so much. So, like, how did that happen? How did
Well,
Sarah know that story before we even knew Fancy was trying to create that story?
well, there's two things happening here. Okay. So I don't know the answer because I'm not in anybody's head and I wasn't a fly on the wall. And I know that you know that there's two answers here. One of them is that Fancy actually told her that a long time ago, or that something's going on that none of us know about, but I don't know. I mean, like that's all speculation. Here's
Right.
the thing. Here's
Very coincidental.
And let me,
go ahead.
if it's something that Fancy told Sarah, when have you ever seen Fancy not throw Christy under the bus? She throws Christy and Gypsy under the bus every chance she can get, does she not? I mean, she does. So why would this be the one thing that we've never publicly heard her throw Christy under the bus for?
Well,
Ever say this?
okay, so now I'm just going back in my memory while we're having this conversation, and I remember Bree. I remember, and this wasn't that long ago, so I'm sure you guys know. I remember Fancy going on Bree's channel because I saw this from 1980 commentates, and how nervous Fancy was because Bree was gonna put out a video or something about Nick, right? So
Right,
all of
right.
this stuff probably, it seems like it all has come out around the same time. So I could see, listen, I'm not going to put it past Fancy to grab somebody to throw under the bus instead of her. Not at all. I totally see that she would throw probably anybody under the bus instead of her. So that doesn't surprise me. But here's what I'm going to tell you. That's not up to me to decide. That's up to the authorities to decide. So somebody went in and spoke to Nick, and they manipulated that kid, and that was wrong. And for that reason alone, I have sent everything I have. I've gone to the police now for 2 days, and I've spoken to people that I was affiliated with over 30 years ago. I just spoke to somebody at 5 o'clock today. And you know what? Let them investigate. That's not up to me. That's not my pay grade anymore. That's not it. But it is, as somebody who believes in what's right and just, it is up to me to do as much as I can to
And
make
I admire you for that.
what's
We
fair.
feel the same way with
Yeah.
Nick.
So listen, if Fancy's the only one responsible for this, let the police decide. Let them investigate. If Christy has something to do with it, then they're gonna find it. I just, it's hard for me to say let the system do what it's supposed to do, because look at what it's done. But what choice do we have?
Well,
I'm not going to go around as a sleuth and try to investigate things that are completely out of my realm. You know what I'm saying? But
okay, let me ask you this, because I'm getting a hint of you used to be in law enforcement or something like that. Or am I wrong?
Well, no, I wasn't in law enforcement, but I used to work in the system, in the jail system, and in
Okay.
so,
Well, let me ask you this, because part of Sarah's story was that Gypsy was helping give tips to tell
yep,
John what to.
absolutely,
Okay,
yep,
all right, okay. Now think
And
about
so,
that.
hold on,
Being as
pause,
intelligent
pause,
as you
Kendall,
are,
Kendall, pause a minute. So, but in that live or in that recording with Sarah, interview with Sarah, she never once, Fancy told me this, so I don't know if it's true. She stated it like it was a fact.
and like she was there.
And that's my issue.
Okay, but my question back to you,
That's not your
Toddy,
fault.
about
Yeah.
the since you did work in the jail system,
yes.
what chance do you think that Gypsy, as a co-defendant to Nick, while in prison back in that year, in 2019, would be able to get those kind of messages out to people, being that she was even then more high profile than the normal everyday prisoner because of all this shit that was going on, and that wouldn't have been caught?
Well, I think that there's a lot of gray in that. I think had it have been a direct message, but that's not the way it was portrayed. It wasn't portrayed as a direct message. And so, listen, I've seen a lot of stuff in the jails, and I've seen a lot of stuff when I used to go and, go into the prison system, and we'd like to think that it's impossible for things to get in and out of there, but that's just not the case. So I can't even speak on that. Is it possible for things to happen? Of course it is. Look at Wade Wilson. Where did he get all those tattoos? In prison, in jail?
Yeah.
What do you think, they give out tattoo guns? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't mean to be flippant, but I mean to be real.
And as much as I admire what you're doing for Nick, because what I'll have to say of what I've been told and what I've seen, you're actually putting action behind the words. There's a lot of talk out here that what people's going to do, right? You're actually doing something, okay? And you do it because of the misjustice and mentally, the autism and all of that. But Sarah did not manipulate someone to commit murder. It's not to that point. But you stand so firm on someone that was treated badly, that's got autism. But Sarah did the same thing to a young lady, and there's proof of it. Now, and I know maybe you don't know it because she does spin a good story that things are cut out. But Brandy can give you the link to go see what Sarah did, which is going to show you who. I loved Sarah at one time and fought for her because nobody could see that by under all of this shit, there's heart there.
So do you want me to comment on that? I don't know if I lost you, or are you still there?
She may have bleeped out a minute. Her earbuds are giving her a hard time. Go ahead and comment. Go ahead and comment. Then.
Well, so, I don't know, Sarah. I know about the situation that happened in Chillicothe because in real time, I was following Fancy. I was a subscriber, and though I thought Fancy was a little eclectic, let's me be very kind back then, that was the beginning of the end of whatever. I didn't have any kind of relationship. There was always something that kind of like pulled me back from her, and I think it was because she could just lose it so quickly. I'm talking about Fancy, so but I don't I'm commenting on something that, very specific things. I'm not really commenting on Sarah's character about something that happened I don't know when, because I can't. I don't know anything about that. And is it going to make me change how I think between what happened between her and Fancy? Because isn't that what we're talking? I mean, that's what I was talking about, was exactly, I was very precise in what I was commenting on, and it was the debacle between the two of them, and then other stuff started coming out, right? So whether I believe it or I don't believe it, again, that's not up to, I didn't even give much thought to, wow, did Christy really do this? I mean, I probably did that, but I didn't go any further. Again, that investigation needs to be done by others, not me. And I kind of stopped thinking about it at that point, to be honest with you, because there's nothing I could do about that. But I don't know who Sarah was before this incident, but I wasn't really commenting on that or talking about that. The interview had to do with what happened in Chillicothe, and then it came from it. The laptop thing was very important to Sarah, so I wanted her to tell that story. It was too late on Into the Weeds podcast for her to tell it there, so she told it on my channel. And
well, I am very upset that she doxed me on your channel, but it is what it is. I'm kind of used to it at this point.
I don't, Brandy, I didn't hear her. I got to tell you, I put up a video. I didn't even put it up. Let me tell you the truth. It's on YouTube. It's a 1-minute video. And I didn't, it's unlisted. Yeah. So, I made it, but I didn't put it up because I didn't hear her dox you. As a matter of fact, I didn't know your last name until somebody sent me something. And I'm happy to show you and send you alone the video that I'm not going to share now, because this isn't the way it went. It was in my defense, and that's why I put it unlisted. But I'm happy to share it with you, Brandy, so that you could see where you kind of doxed yourself. I mean, I would like to send you that link. I'm not gonna, again, it's unlisted on YouTube. Nobody has the thing to it. So I'd
Okay.
like to show it to you, but I honestly did not know your last name until about maybe 2 or 3 hours ago when I got the email that shows me, your last name.
Well,
So,
Fancy used to scream it all the time, and it just my name is not on this platform that way,
uh
and it shouldn't be used. And it was Sarah's way of trying to be a shit is what she was doing, and that's why it pissed me off. Because, like we said, and I don't know if you caught the earlier part of the live, we said we don't say that Sarah is lying about the trip. We absolutely agree with her that what happened on that trip happened.
mhm.
I'm not discrediting her on that. I think they were miserable, and she was miserable. She looked very sick. And what I'm saying she lied about are how the receipts went down. The fact that she says we gave her, what did she say, a few hours or a day or whatever it was to get receipts. Kendall had been trying to get receipts for months. And there was something else that she said that I don't remember what it was. And it was, those are lies. And that's what I'm calling her a liar on. And I've proven it. We've proven it time and time again. And just like I put the screenshots up where she asked Veda Jade how to take my channel down, I had to get the video taken down and get it removed because she wanted to go after the video that I did with her. And she says, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. It's in the text of you asking Veda how to do it. And so that's why I'm calling her a liar. I'm not calling her a liar about her experience with Fancy, not one bit.
Mhm.
As somebody that's been there, done that, I understand. I get it. That's why in the beginning, this channel was, I allowed anybody that left Fancy to come over here. And I mean, I've had people in the last couple of weeks message me and say, are you still with her? I need to talk to somebody.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it still happens. And
Well, why
so,
do you think, let me ask you, why do you think that all of a sudden this has happened with Fancy? Like, why do you think all of a sudden she has like struck a nerve, not just with me? I mean, she's struck a nerve with so many content creators now that, you know, and just the stuff that has come out that has just shown just so how nasty and diabolical she is, the stuff with Nick that you just can't take that back. You can't unsee that. You know what I'm saying? So I
mhm.
mean, like that stuff, you're right. Where'd that stuff come from? That stuff just kind of came out basically, but then FOIAs were requested. So man, I
Right.
don't.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, and y'all didn't know me a year ago, but a year ago, I was screaming all this stuff already. This is stuff I was saying a year ago, and but everybody supported her then, and so I was the outcast, and that's fine. I'm stood on my own, and it is what it is. I mean, her fallout with Morbid, I think, is what has spurred everybody to look at her differently, in my opinion.
Okay, no, that's cool. I mean, yeah, no, that's what I'm asking is.
And somebody in the chat a while ago said that who would have thunk that it was Morbid bringing her down. And so I do think it was the fallout there attacking Becca and Starlight has caused everybody to go, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, you and a few others were already having issues with the screaming that she did towards people with the donations for the Missouri trip.
Yeah, that was it for me. That was
That
it for
bothered
me.
you. And so y'all already had some issues there. And then I think the fallout there in such a big capacity really seems to be what has spurred all of the new stuff happening.
Right.
If that makes
Right.
sense. I hope I'm making
No, no,
sense.
no. Yeah,
I'm
no,
talking.
no, no. That makes, of course, it does make sense. I'm just thinking in my mind, as far as my memory goes, it does. That timing would be about right. Absolutely, absolutely. Because I'm not done with her. I never wanted my channel to be like an attack channel, and I'm just there's just so much proof there, and I just want to put it out there because it needs to be documented. Number one, and it's scary. You know, Nick, here's the thing. I don't know what's best for Nick. Sometimes, I think of people like MPG Cornerstone. I say, maybe he's safer incarcerated. But that's not my call.
Right. No, I agree with that.
it's up to a judge or a governor or somebody in a better position to decide what's best for him. But to me, at least let him have it fairly. Just please let him have it fairly. And anybody that stood in the way of that, or that would go in to a prison where a guy doesn't have anything but that kind of life and make it worse, is just, it's merciless, it's soulless. It's more than ruthless, it's soulless. And that is just, I can't. I can't let that slide. I can't. It's got, everything's going to come out about that, because that's just a horrible, horrible, horrible thing to do to somebody. Just horrible.
So, what? Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, and your microphone or your ears
Yeah,
or
you were
something.
making all kinds of racket just a minute ago.
Because I was talking, nobody could hear me.
Oh, well, I
I
didn't
just
hear you talk.
um, y'all quit blocking everything Planny's saying, unless
Yeah.
it's just really bad. I don't know what she's saying. Um,
I was trying to go back over to YouTube and catch it. Don't. Uh, I mean, slow your roll, guys, on the blocking, on the muting, and hiding comments. Okay, it's all right. It's all right. I knew it was going to get kind of rough in here, and we've got so many people that have differing views and opinions and dislikes and all of that. So
right.
that's why I
So,
just in there too. If you don't like someone, just ignore them. Quit commenting back and forth.
okay,
Um,
Toddy, with Sarah,
Send it to me,
I
honey.
with Sarah, I adored her when we first started talking. I mean, like I said, everybody was mad that I was talking to her, and I would say I've seen a different side of her, which is exactly what I think you're seeing. So I understand where you're coming from. I've seen a different side that the world hadn't seen because of some of the things she had done with it. You know, they wanted to hold all of that against her because she definitely participated, but she did not realize when me and her first talked that people, when you sit beside somebody and they're doing something that is disgusting behavior and you don't correct them and you're the co-host, like I wouldn't let Brandy sit here and spew something so hateful and me not be like, Brandy, hold on now. You know, I mean, you can't be always responsible for your chat, but I feel like when you're on panel with somebody, if they do something wrong and you don't call them out, it looks bad on you too, which is what had happened a lot, and people just wasn't willing to give her a chance. And I had seen a different side of her on the one-on-one conversations. And where Brandy was mad, I'm not going to say I wasn't mad when I found out the lies. I was hurt. And me and Brandy act completely different when we're upset. Where I normally will just block and I'm done, Brandy will want to get to the bottom of it or
I
confront.
like to get to the bottom of things.
Yeah,
If my trust is broken, I'm done. I'm
right.
done. There's no sense to fight about it. There's no sense in of anything. When I had, you know, so I understand how she's easy to love when you
You
hear
know,
that
Kendall,
part of her.
I think that there's something going. So I want to be clear, and this isn't. I mean, Sarah might be listening to this. Sarah and I aren't friends. Sarah, I'm not trying to build a friendship with Sarah. I'm ready to go on to other things. I
Mhm.
just don't have any bad feelings about Sarah, but I'm not trying to build a friendship. I certainly would interview her about something in the future if it came down my path.
Mhm.
And I don't have anything bad to say about her. I'm not trying to build some sort of
Yeah.
relationship with her. I wish her well. I think that she is sick. I think that um you
Oh, I
know,
know she's sick.
yeah,
I know
so
that.
right. And you
Steve,
know,
please,
I
please calm down, Steve. No more of that. That's
I
not okay.
don't know I don't know honestly if she's as sick as she says she is. I have no reason to not believe her. And you know, because like I cover Scientology too, and this whole thing just happened over in the Scientology department where somebody was speaking up for themselves because of a bunch of stuff that was happening to them, and people were questioning what was going on, and the guy was dying. So the guy was trying to rid himself of toxicity, and a lot of people felt stupid after that, because 2 weeks later, after they're done bashing him, the guy's in the ground. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it takes for somebody, maybe, because I heard you before I could get on, that said, where has she been? Where has she been? I don't know. Maybe she's been sick. That's me giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. Now, that's who I am. I will give people the benefit of the doubt until I find out otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I have to say that I knew about Fancy's past before it's out now, and now all I use is her mugshot. I'm aware of what I'm doing. I'm very deliberate in what I do. So, but the thing is, I gave her, I found grace and said, you know what? We all have shit in our past. So her shit's a little bit bigger than my shit. It doesn't matter if people make a change, they make a change. I mean, you guys need to remember. So I told you I worked in corrections. I worked with the inmates. I also worked as a drug counselor for children. So I believe in second chances. But Kendall, I'm right along with you. Once somebody breaks the trust with me, I don't know how to get that back. I am incapable of getting that back, because if
And
you're
I'm
going to
just
lie to
done when
me,
it's
I
done.
don't want to talk to you. But I will give you the chance to say, listen, you misunderstood. I wasn't lying to you. This is what I meant. I will give somebody the chance to, maybe I got it wrong, but if
A
there's
misunderstanding. Yeah.
but if there's
Yeah.
factual proof that that person has lied to me, I'm right there with you. That trust is gone. I can't
Yeah.
fix that. I have never been able to fix that in any relationship I've ever been in. It's been, man, do whatever you want, but don't lie to me. Sorry, Brandy. I'm sorry.
That's exactly the way I feel. And that's why I felt
I'm
the way I
incapable of fixing that. Yeah, I don't know how to fix
that's
that
why I feel the way I do. And I even think, because there's still a little part of me that cares. And I wish I could be, and I don't mean this Brandy mean, but I wish I could be as cold as Brandy can be sometimes, and I can't. And if she would have, after all this time, would have got up there, and she knows the couple of things that she knows that she lied about. If she would have got up there, told her story, and would have been like, I got this wrong when I was with Kendall, and I I wished I wouldn't have done it that way, or I apologize. I take accountability for, or speaking on it wrong and letting her believe this one way and not whatever the words might be.
Right.
I would have probably reached out, but
Right.
instead she buckled down to the lies, blamed Brandy for being mean, blames me for backstabbing her, and she knows none of that's true. And then the cherry on top is telling that story. And like Brandy said earlier, she didn't tell it as in it was something she was told. She told it in a way of, oh yeah, Christy bankrolled it and Gypsy did. Yep. Like she was there, as it
No,
was
she said that
fact.
she told, I was there. I was in that interview, and
Yeah, I
she,
have the video. I watched it before
yeah,
this
but
live start. That's how she said it.
what, well, what I heard her say was that Fancy told her. That's what I heard. I mean, I didn't hear, I'm telling you, I mean, listen, if I misheard that, then I misheard it, but that's what I heard. I heard her say that Fancy told her that. So that's what I heard.
Brandy, is there more to the clip than what you sent me?
I don't think so. I think what I sent you is what I had. I
Mhm.
quit listening. I quit listening because I was getting angry, and so I had to just take a pause. So I'll listen to the rest of it. We'll see if that's there.
Tell
Yeah,
you, I
because
do. I
I
do want to go
definitely,
and watch it all
yeah,
in
because
full.
listen, I definitely, uh, I don't want to bet my life on anything, but
Right, I get it.
that's what I heard, and that's certainly the way that I took it. That Fancy's the one that told her that, and that's why I was like, "Why are we arguing about the same thing here?" I mean, basically, we're saying the same thing. That Fancy said that. That Fancy said that. What's the difference? So that's why I was
Okay,
confused.
Sarah's out. Kick her out. I'm done, bitch. Shut up, Ruby. Shut up. You're
Don't go
cool,
there.
and I'm just nasty. Fuck you. You're a lying bitch. You stole from an autistic girl and conned her out of a computer and tried to get her to finance one, you nasty bitch. Get out.
Brandy.
I'm done with her, Kendall. I'm done. She's
But
been
you can
all
handle
over.
it professionally.
I'm fuck her. She's been all over the place trying to discredit me, and she wants to come in here in my own live and call me nasty and cruel. Yeah, no, bitch, out.
It's going to get to the point that you're just, and you're just going to have to, because she's doing this, then you're going to have to bring it out and and prove it. If that, because you're right, she's trying to discredit you when she knows we know the truth, and she knows how we are, that we don't want to go back down that path because of who the young lady is. But she knows we got it, and she knows that 90% of the people right now listening also knows it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Tanya, I asked somebody last night that I was talking to, because she is a very strong Nick supporter, and I said, okay, so you have a really hard time on the manipulation factor, and that's where it sits with you. That's the worst part of things, right? And she's like, well, absolutely. And I said, so what is different with what Fancy and Sarah both did to that young autistic woman that supports Fancy? And she's like, well, there's no difference. I said, exactly. And then everybody's patting Sarah on the back and believing her, and we've seen the proof.
Yeah, so again, that's something that I'm not familiar to speak on. I mean, I just
right.
can't speak on that because I
And I
don't
just-
know
I
about it.
I will get it for you and send it to you, and so you can see it. And Sarah said, I think it was either yours and I think it was yours because you talked to her about the laptop.
That's correct.
She said that I do not call her name because I just won't. I just don't think that's right. Dirty deletes. Well, when you're in Messenger, you delete something, show that it was deleted. So the messages were not deleted. It was very clear. And it was very clear when Sarah says, well, what about getting it financed? Can't you do the financing? So, and if Fancy asked her to do something, to find her something to do with the team to help because she wanted to help, that would be looking at cases and stuff like that, not trying to get Sarah a fucking computer.
But that's a whole new story that's never been
Right.
told.
That's a whole
I
new
have
story.
the whole story of
So
the
I went
story that Sarah told me was completely different than the story about Fancy wanted her to find something for the young lady to do. Completely different. Never heard that story before either.
Okay.
So, and I'll find it and give it to you. That way you can
Okay.
look at it yourself and you can make your own decision on that. It just, for me, I feel like she's trying to jump into a pot of people that are all against Fancy, and so she can look good again. Because when that came out about those text messages, she vanished because
Yeah.
her goose was cooked. So now that everybody is on this hate train, she's got a little leeway to get underneath her feet, and that's just how
She's got people saying, like, Toddy, I'm sure, like, I've heard your name before. I've just not watched your stuff, but nothing against you. I don't watch much of nothing. But what I have found out in the last few days is you come with credibility yourself. You yourself, your platform has credibility. So I guess that's the part that bothered me, is someone with that name behind them, like you, that is considered credible, given someone like Sarah, who has done some of the things she's done, saying that, you find her credible, which is completely different than someone saying she is credible. I mean,
No, I
there
think
is,
Listen, wait a minute. Wait. So when I said that, listen, and I don't know who's in the chat because I'm on a big screen. I'm not even looking at the chat because it's a distraction to me. So I don't even go there. And because I want to stay focused on what's talking.
Bubbles said she sent it to you, the live that I'm talking about with all of the proof. So
Okay, that's fine. But I want you to understand, I was commenting when I said I find her the story. I mean, I was very clear. She repeated the story the same way that she repeated it a long time ago. That's the Chillicothe story.
Okay, so you're referring to the Missouri trip story. Okay.
That's that. Wait a minute. This computer story was a new story, and she wanted to talk about that through the Into the Weeds podcast, and they spoke for 3 hours and never got to it. In all fairness, we got into other things. this was important to Sarah. And I said, let me do it on my channel, because one, she gave us 3 hours and this was important to her. So I had her come on my channel and I let her tell her side of the story. I don't have a problem with that. I will never have a problem with that. Now, if that story isn't true and I have to retract something, I would go to Sarah first with the proof that you would show me. And I would ask her if she would like to talk about this on the channel. Okay.
Mhm.
So, but that
So I
was,
believe the Chillicothe trip story. I believe all of that is
yeah,
absolutely.
that's what I was saying. I
Absolutely.
agreed with, because that's why I said I've heard this story before and there's nothing that deviated from it. But the other story I didn't know. Now, let me just say that I have proof about something with this computer thing that I know that I've gotten probably an hour ago that I have not had a chance to look at. Somebody's sending it to me, or somebody already sent it to me. I got a text message telling me it was going to be sent. I don't know. I really didn't want my channel to be about a laptop, but it seems like I need to put some sort of like bow on this or finish it fairly, because it's got people upset. And I understand, Kendall, I hear you.
Yeah.
And I also hear in your voice that you're hurt and disappointed. I hear that. And that's, I don't like to hear that from anybody. So I've had friends that have broken my heart, and I know what that feels like. And it sounds like you're disappointed and a little sad, and that's upsetting when you think somebody is somebody and they let you down. That's disappointing. I
Yeah.
know that. So I'm there. I understand, and I will look.
One minute I'm mad and I'm angry and I'm lashing out, and the next minute I just wish she would have went up there and told she, like I said, she knows exactly what parts that she led me to believe one other thing. And there's a lot of conversation between me and her afterwards. Was like, how am I supposed to fix this, Sarah? After I found, or after I Fancy and Ryan did that live and show those text messages, and I confronted her about them, and she kept saying they cherry picked, Kendall. They cherry picked. That's not the. There was no deny. Even if they would have cherry picked, there's parts that you said what you said, and the meaning's there. You know, and I know that's hard to understand until you say what people is hitting you. So, but I I just wanted her to say I was embarrassed to tell you, or something. And I told her, it's like, how am I supposed to fix this? Because I was trying to bridge relationships between her and other people so she would have some support, because I wanted her to have support, because Fancy was my nemesis at the time,
Right.
and then I got to know Sarah, and because me and her have this, I was diagnosed in 2021 with cancer and fought it for 18 months. And she, there was that bond of, I've been through this. You're starting to start this. I knew what was in her future. And there was just that something that I just was so hurt, but yet I was so pissed that she put me in that position on that live. And she still, one of the last messages from her was, if you don't ever talk to me again, I want you to know I forgive you and I love you. Like, I just want you to be honest. That's it. That's it. And take accountability for what you did to that girl. That's it. But, and I know a lot of people hate her. I I don't hate her. I pity her. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
No, I understand. You had
I,
said
I know
that.
what she's coming through. I know, but she seems awful strong now. Thank God, right? I mean, I I don't know. I'm just gonna shut up.
Well, Kendall, let me just tell you that and I mean this sincerely, that I, my heart hurts for you right now, because I see that you're in conflict with yourself over some stuff that you need somebody to help you with. And I, I mean, it seems like Sarah's the only one. You want this stuff from Sarah, and I hope you get it. And if you don't, I hope you find a way to move forward. And I, because I understand how you feel. I know how you feel. I've been there
Yeah.
before.
I thought I was over it. Like, I thought I had moved past it. Because, like I said, one minute there might be text message between me and Brandy where I am lashing out and I'm pissed at her, like I'm going to get her, and then the next minute it's there's just another part of me, and like I've got good friends that absolutely despises her, and then I've got a couple of friends that have defended her, and I have pretty much kept my mouth shut on both sides because it's easier for me just to close that book and walk away until this pops up, and she's up there knowing, that this and to uh, anyway, just knowing she could have fixed it, she could have changed it, she could have sent the real um, information that they asked for. She could have backed up everything she said, that she still says that she has the proof to prove she's not lying. Then give it to somebody. If you don't want it, you're telling people you've been dragged through the mud and that me and Brandy treated her horribly.
Which what
Then
pisses me off because
give
I
the
know
proof.
put in with her, and for her to come out and do that, that's why I get so passionate and start calling her names and get totally pissed, because she's calling Kendall all kinds of names, and Kendall's still behind the scenes hoping Kim and other people are there for her because she's worried about her. And I don't hate her because that takes more energy and time that I got to give, because she doesn't mean anything to me. There was no relationship there. And
No,
so
I'm the one that had the relationship.
yes. And so for her to attack like she's been doing and then try to come out my channel when I tried to do something good for her, no, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with that. And so I
And
just have
she,
a lot of anger and passion there. And I'm sorry. It's coming across like I'm screaming at you, Toddy, and I'm not meaning to
No,
do
no,
that.
no. I don't think that you're screaming at me at all. I see that you guys are frustrated, and and I wish I can't. I'm not the one that can help you with this.
I know.
I hope. Listen, I I put Sarah on my channel, and I certainly, let her speak, and honestly, and I haven't changed my views about Sarah. I haven't, but now I got stuff in my email, and if there's stuff, and I assume I'm going to question it, I am going to reach out, and if I need to put out a video that says, hey, listen, this has come up, and guys, I know you looked at this video, but this is a second part to this, and it's another side. I don't have a problem doing that. But I can't, as you guys know, we can't decide what people believe or what people. I mean, all we could do is put out the information as objectively as we can, right?
Right.
So
right, right.
And
and
that's,
hope.
when we did our interview with her, we had to do a second part where things come out that we weren't able to prove and that actually Fancy had proved. And
Yeah,
so
do you know how bad, Toddy, that it felt for Fancy to be my nemesis at the time and that I had to apologize to her? Like, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Well, I it would take a lot more, to be honest with you, than a text message or an email for me to believe Fancy. I'm sorry, but I know that those could be manipulated, and Fancy has
Mhm.
all the time in the world and a bunch of people that apparently work for her for free. So I don't.
No, Sarah admitted it. She
Okay, well,
admitted that Fancy did send her the 200. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me go on this panel saying she owed you $300?
yeah, there was something about 500, and she owed three. Listen, that
And
I
she
didn't
told
get.
someone else 700. I mean,
kept
Yeah,
changing. It was crazy.
I only knew about the 500, to be honest, and 300 went there, and that wasn't spoken about. I think that was spoken about on Alora's, and I want to address something about that, because I think that there was a little. So Alora apparently had asked Sarah for the history of. I don't know if
so
she
did
used the
I.
word. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know if she used the word history, but I know that Alora meant history, because she said, "Oh, I wanted the history." But then the reason why she let it go the way she let it go, because I heard that conversation, was Laura said, I found out that if you go to Cash App, you could delete your history. So it didn't
Hmm.
make any sense for her to ask for that, because it could have been deleted. And you know what I'm saying? So she was like, I
Well,
could have asked her for it, but Okay, that's not what she gave her. And Sarah said, listen, I told you about one thing. I thought that's what you wanted was a copy of that. So
Yeah, I
one
heard
of
her
more
excuse.
was,
But we're talking
yeah.
about two different things, Toddy.
Okay.
She,
Okay. I'm sorry.
no, I mean, I understand where you're going. I was referring to her saying that she had spent $500 out of her own pocket, not the donations that was sent to her. I really do believe that people probably only sent her $10 because Fancy was the one people were sending the money to. I
Right.
don't doubt at all that all she got was $10. What I went on there defending Sarah for was that Sarah was owed $300. And even to make it fair to Fancy that night, before we got on the live, I talked to Sarah. I was like, well, listen, I'm not going to go after Fancy and say, you need to pay Sarah. She took her time, her car, wear and tear on her car to take your ass there. You need to pay her. And that's where I was going with that argument. And so we talked right before we went on live. And I said, now, how much does she owe you? She said, and I was like, and has, what has she paid you? She told me about the gas and the big story with the gas, which I believe. And that at that time, she was telling me $300 out of her pocket. And I said, okay, to make it fair, I'm only going to tell Fancy she owes you 150 because y'all both went, you both got donations, you both stayed, even if it was a hell in a hotel, you still both went and stayed 4 or 5 days. She said, okay. So I'm up there and I'm going about this whole narrative, and somebody pops in and says, well, how about the $200 Fancy sent you? Well, I'm ready to defend Sarah because Fancy didn't send her no $200. It's Fancy. She ain't going to give her no $200. And I'm I forget, it's been so long, I forget exactly what I said, but that's where my mind went, that I know she only got 20, 25, or 30, whatever the gas was. I knew then. But and then Sarah out of left field, like, starts arguing with this person in the chat saying she sent $200. And I'm like, what do you mean, Sarah? She sent 200. What? Where did that come from? I specifically asked you. And then she starts coming up with this story that, well, she sent me 200, but when I told you three, she only still owed me three. And so I kind of let that go. I'm mad because I just feel like an idiot, right? That I'm sitting here telling Fancy you didn't pay her nothing when even Sarah admitted she did. And Fancy does have the receipt, but like I said, she admitted that she did. And I'm like, okay, send me proof, edit out all your personal information. I don't want to see where you paid your power bill or anything. Just show me where you rotated tires or got a oil change, where you spent another $300 or a five in total. So I've got a rock to stand on because everybody was coming at her and I was trying to defend her. She,
Right.
okay, I'll send it to you. 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 And when she's saying that I only gave her a day to get it, that was the only one item that I kept saying I needed. And it was a short period of time because everything had been flipped upside down. Everybody, is coming to me saying, I tried to tell you, Kendall, I tried to tell you. And I look like a complete idiot, plus have to apologize to Fancy. And she keeps saying, I'm going to send it. Then she turns it around and says, you're asking me to send my bank statements. It's no one's business. And I can understand that too. But you're sitting there telling this story how much you spent, and it don't even make sense that you spent that much when just a couple of weeks before we're sitting her. And I don't like to give somebody something and throw it in their face, but it just didn't make no sense that me and Brandy sending her grocery money, but you still had $500 to spend right in the blink of a few hours before y'all got to hit the road. Like, that don't make sense.
I
And
agree. You're absolutely right. That doesn't
and
make
I was
sense.
defending her with everything in me. I went into that live to defend her, and I'm just egg on my face. And
You
it
know
just
what?
kept coming. It just kept coming, Toddy. It just kept coming in that live.
Let me tell you something. So I don't know if this will help you at all. I don't know if you want this, but just listen to this for a second. Okay. So how somebody behaves, that's not on us. You know, we should never feel stupid for giving somebody the benefit of the doubt or for giving somebody a chance. If I saw a homeless person and I gave them $100 and then I turned my back and started walking to my Hyundai, okay, and they got in their BMW, do you think I would say shame on me? I would never say shame on me. It would be shame on them. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So please, and I mean this sincerely, I'm not sticking up for anybody here. You have no control over how somebody feels about you. And you have done what you feel is the right thing. From if I take you at your word, I believe that you have done the right thing. But giving somebody the benefit of the doubt and helping somebody and them using it against us, and I'm not saying Sarah did this or anything, I'm saying just people in general, that doesn't make us look stupid or bad. If we continue supporting that behavior, yeah, we look stupid, right? But
Yeah.
even the second time when you give somebody a chance, in my opinion, it's the third time that I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I'm done with that. But even
Right.
the second
Right.
time I could give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Once you lie to me, that's over. That's done. I can't fix
Right.
that. But
Right. And I don't think she thought that the $200 would ever be known about, right? Because nobody believes anything Fancy says most of the time,
that's
right?
correct.
Everybody, even when Fancy's telling the truth, and and I believe Fancy tells the truth sometimes, and I know that people, no matter when she does tell the truth, nobody's going to believe her. So I think, and this is just me thinking, thinking, that maybe Sarah didn't ever think that the $200 would ever be proven, or that even if Fancy said, "I gave you $200," who's going to believe Fancy? Even if she showed a receipt, people would say what you just said. It can all be manipulated. Nobody's going to believe Fancy, But there was so many people coming in the chat that night saying more and more stuff, and Sarah would say, "That's a lie. That's a lie," and I'm like, if you'll send me the proof, I can't go up against these people and defend you unless you send me the proof how mean these people were to you. Okay, I will. I've got so much. I'll send it to you. And I never got anything. The only thing I ever got was exactly the few little things that she gave into the weeds. That's it. The same exact thing.
Right.
And and she always said, "I've got so much. I've got so much." And I believe that it was a very strenuous relationship between the both of them. We watched it live. You could
Right.
see the tension between them. It's easy to believe. You could see the tension between them. Um, so I believe when Fancy was ready to move on, I think she had her full of Sarah. I think Sarah had her full of Fancy. Mac was kind of coming into the picture at that time, and Mac was, up there starting to do interviews and was doing a good job with Fancy. Sarah probably did, and then plus Ryan come on the scene about that time, and that was pissing half the world off, and that that Fancy and Ryan would be talking back to each other, and then that aggravated Sarah too, and aggravated a lot of people, and Sarah probably did feel just thrown away, you know, by
Discarded. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm sure she did. But there was also the fact that you can't just leave Fancy after sitting there doing some of the things that, and this was before we knew about the autistic girl on Sarah's side. We knew on Fancy's side. In fact, it was one of the first stories that Sarah told me when me and Sarah started talking was how bad Fancy was to this young lady. And of course, I ran with it, right? I ran with it because no, you're not going to treat someone like that. And I had a lot of people that are, work in that field, and they were upset, and Sarah was telling me all that. And of course, Sarah never one time during all the stories she told me about how bad Fancy was said that, oh, by the way, I also tried to get her to get me one and try to get her to finance me one. And, and it, like I said, this ain't about the old laptop. This is about trying to get this young lady to get her a brand new one. And like, you leave those stuff out. So when I'm sitting here trying to tell these people that hate you, give you a chance because you're going to take accountability for the things you did, you you know give people the time to start to trust you again, because I believe second chances that you, because the one thing Sarah didn't realize, like I said earlier, is that people connected her so much with some of the things that Fancy did that they were mad at her whether she did it or not, because
Right.
she would laugh when Fancy would do some things, or or whatever. So they just grouped them together. Everybody groups me and Brandy together. So and people were mad. Poor Bree, she was upset. Bree's friends was even more mad than Bree was over some things that was said, and making fun of Bree, and Sarah saying she got warts all over her face and making fun of her and all that. And there's two sides to that story. Sarah accused Bree of things that Bree didn't do, but Sarah thought she did. So there's two sides to every coin. But Sarah was wrong for doing what she did, because she was mistaken about something she thought Bree did and lashed out in an ungodly, nasty way. I wanted Sarah to have the chance to take accountability, explain why she did it, explain to Bree why she acted that way, and let Bree explain to her, I didn't do what you thought I did. And Sarah never did believe Bree.
Yeah, I'm
But
not familiar with that story.
yeah, I mean, it's just there was so much, and there was so many people that I had to go up against. They didn't want to talk to her, didn't want to open the door, and I wanted her to have support.
right.
And then I get treated that way on the live of not getting the full truth. And that's what, like I said, one minute I'm pissed, and the next minute I'm hurt, and the next minute I feel like I'm an idiot because I gave her the chance, of which I don't give people chances anymore. Like, I'm so done with this community, and it's nothing against anybody personal. I'm so tired
Don't
of the
let somebody
bullshit.
take away, Kendall. That's a good quality that you have. Don't let somebody take that away, because
Well, it's not
somebody,
it's not because of
somebody's
it's
gonna
not
need
because
it.
of
Somebody,
Sarah. It's just
yeah,
the whole
because
thing.
yeah, but somebody's gonna somebody's gonna need that one day, legitimately, and you have it in your heart. I know the world is getting harder and harder and harder, but if there's nobody with the hearts that we're supposed to have,
Mhm.
there is absolutely no chance. So I know that you were hurt, but maybe you could, I don't know, put up a little bit of a better vetting system, but don't not help people, because the world's already filled with that. Please don't. That's a good quality you have. And I say it with tears in my eyes, because I've been there. I know that. I know what it feels like to be worn out, turned upside down, spit out, be thrown like a fool. I get it. I get it. I get it. And I've been there. I've been there with family. I've been there with people that I thought were my friends, but I would still help somebody else,
Oh,
because
I will too.
nobody's going to
And
take that away from me. Nobody's going to
what
take
I
that
mean,
quality away from me.
what I mean about being done with the community is that I'm just tired of hearing about Gypsy, good or bad.
I
And
understand
like I
that.
said, it's nothing against anybody. No, it's nothing against anybody. I'm just so ready to hear about something else.
I
So it's like
understand
I've
that.
just tried to walk away from the community, and like I said, it's not nothing that Sarah did to make me do that. That happened so long ago. Brady can tell you what 2 or 3 weeks ago I went through either blocking or unfollowing everybody.
Yeah.
But the people that I would still talk to, I have their phone numbers. It's not like I don't want them in my life. I just don't want to hear the fighting and the bickering and the Gypsy this or the Gypsy good, the Gypsy bad, the this, the faith. I just so sick of it. And then this happened, and it hurt Brandy. And I'm going to be where Brandy's at when it comes to that kind of thing.
I got you. You're ride and die. Ride or
Ride or
die.
die.
I get it. I get
Even
it.
when
I
we don't
get
agree. Y'all can see
Oh
earlier.
yeah, we'll argue now.
it. That's all right.
We can argue.
I apologize to everybody. I should not have lost my cool that way, but I have watched her run me down all over the place, and which is why I started going at her months ago, because she was running me down when I didn't do anything. And other than opening a channel to her to get up here and lie, and it's upsetting and it's frustrating. She is now hanging with somebody that has taken my my background check they pulled, that's run and given it to everybody, trying to go real life on me and my husband, who is an actual veteran that served in, and it's just frustrating that I just getting on my soapbox again. I'm sorry, guys, but again, I apologize for losing my cool a while ago. I'm sorry.
Well, babe,
Well,
I've got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning,
yeah,
so
I was
I'm
gonna
gonna
say,
hop off.
I hope that I cleared up some stuff. I'm getting ready to scat too. But
I appreciate it, Toddy. I really do.
I appreciate you letting me come on. I enjoyed this, and I liked getting to know both of you. Seriously.
Thank you for coming
And
over.
Brandy, if you give me your email, I'll go ahead and send that to you like I said I
emailed
would.
you and I've been emailing back and forth.
Okay, okay, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'll go ahead. See how I can keep secrets? Okay, I'll go ahead and send that to you.
All right, thanks, girl.
Okay, take care, guys. All right, thanks again for having
Bye.
me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks
Be
for
well.
Thanks, Toddy.
Be well. Be well.
You too.
Okay,
You
bye.
too.
Bye-bye.
Oh, yes, Winnie, you're right. She has aligned with well-known scammers and doxers to prove her narrative and continue to sidestep accountability. And that is where my big issue is. And I mean, I would have just left it alone, but don't lie about me and what happened and the things, and it just don't lie on me. Period. Don't lie on me. It's not going to end well.
Well,
I own it, just like just now. I fucked up. I owned it.
yeah, I'm telling you, take your breath, shut up, be professional, shut your mouth. God darn, I tell you a lot to shut your mouth.
I was over it because she's been doing it all over the place, and then to come in here and do it again, but then call you cruel when you had already been nice to her. No, I'm over it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Uh,
So
it
yeah, I'm
seems like it keeps
blowing
going.
up. Fancy's good and pissed. It's fine. I don't give a fuck. She's mad that I didn't contact her about this to begin with. Why? So she could lie about it and try to change the narrative and get ahead of it? No.
No, we gave her the chance the other day to tell us the truth about that she knew that Christy wasn't involved. And I told you, I I wanted her to say no. She can I wanted her to say no because she knows the answer is no. But because of the hate and the cloud of hate,
She needs the people that cannot stand Christy and the Blanchards in a whole to blame them and take the heat off of her. Period.
mhm, yeah.
Thank you, True Crime
And I
Drama.
really
Coming.
I really wanted her to answer that the other day, that straightforward question. It's like, no, she could have even said Christy's done a lot, but this one she didn't do.
Because even Christy had already just told us. Fancy
Yeah,
would
she said,
never did
Fancy
that.
will even tell you I had nothing to do with that.
So
Yeah.
then it's like, oh shit, here it goes. Like it's frustrating. It's so frustrating. So, all right, guys. It's just been longer than I expected it to be.
Well, you're the one's going to have to deal with all the videos and the remarks because I don't see nothing anymore.
Yeah. Yep, I'm sure.
And don't send me nothing because I only want to see it.
I'm sure.
I'm such a good friend, I know. If they come after you, don't even tell me because I don't want to hear it.
But I've been over in Krama and kind of following that the last couple of weeks, and like
Yeah.
flat out went up on a panel today and had a long conversation about this stupid RICO case that somebody filed, and like it. I'm over this part of true crime. I'm just over it. It's time to move on.
You're welcome, guys. I appreciate it.
You. Oh, is that the new Matlock rebrand? I hadn't watched it yet. I'm going to put on my house flipper game and play a game for a little bit and decompress. Actually, I got to call my husband because he called while I was live.
It's 9:30 and I got to be up at 3.
Yeah. Have a good day tomorrow.
Shut
Look,
up.
Studio has changed a bunch of shit. I'm looking over here trying to find my stuff, and it's like so different. What did they do? Okay, I see it all now.
Hey, JoJo. Hey, Rebrand. I ain't even said hey to most people. I try not to look too much at the chat. When every once in a while I'll see something. I try not to.
Yes, I've got to get on there and do Devin Perkins. Did we hear? I need to. I'll text you. I needed to hear if we found anything out from the hearing the other day. And Maj, you did great. You guys all did great. Y'all were getting a little worked up a little bit. Might have got a little hide happy. It's okay. It happens.
I don't even know what was going on, so I don't even have an opinion.
There were a lot of people in here that do not like each other on all sides and every side and which way and upside down. And so it got a little insane. And Steve got a little sideways protecting Harley. And so he apologized and I appreciate that. So, I mean, it's okay. It happens. It was a drama live. We know it's going to happen.
See, I'm kind of it's like I love them all. I love Harley and I love everybody on the other side too. And I just don't have an opinion. I do, but my opinion don't matter. I just try to be nice to everybody.
And I do. That's why I like being called nasty. It makes me go, what the fuck? Because I'm like, so like I've been over there not even happy with Fancy and been nice. Like, so, and they want to keep saying I'm sitting with Fancy and they have no idea what actually has happened. And I'm just being friendly. I'm just being me. Like, I mean, they want me to be nasty. I can be nasty. I can go there. I can bring out a hood. It's fine.
Which that is kind of why I left social media before, is I didn't like what it turned me into. So I don't want to come back to it. I mean, not this side of it.
The one that I shared earlier, Chrissy. You know what if I, hey, it's just the
You need
geese.
to talk to Dawn, I think, before you
I had
send out.
permission to share it, so she's okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You knew, or otherwise I wouldn't put it on panel tonight. I mean, it's
Oh,
already
I
up.
didn't know. I can't see. I didn't know you did. I knew you was reading it, but I didn't know you put it up.
Yes. How about if I make a video slowed down and put it up? Will that help? Y'all see it? But I am absolutely ready to get back on track. I am waiting for insurance to clear me for the steroid shot so that pain can go away and I can feel my foot again. And getting back to what I do on here. And I seriously did not want to do this and I was trying to avoid it, but I wasn't going to sit back with lies and miscommunication. Okay, I can. But and I can't sit back when I know what happened and Fancy coming in and saying, I didn't know what happened. Yes, I did. She just needs to discredit me too. It's what happens. It's fine. You know, she will tell everybody. She just said a couple months ago, I was there. I knew it all. And I was this and I was that singing my praises and I pissed her off and now she's going at me. So it is what it is.
Well, she says she's good with me, but she goes behind my back to you talking about the Colleen thing, of
Right.
which she has no clue of the relationship I have with Colleen. And I have protected Fancy from
And
telling her a lot of things.
you've protected Colleen
And,
so Fancy wouldn't go after her. And that pisses me off.
and I'm still going to protect Colleen because our conversations are private. But if I wanted to rip Fancy's heart out, I could, because the story that Fancy puts out that Colleen's not there anymore because of me and still wants to be, I could blow that out of the water in a heartbeat. So I don't
She needs to quit going
want,
at you, this little
you know,
snarky shit she does
well,
about you contacting the board. She needs to stop that.
but I can't get mad about the truth. I did contact the board. So I'm not mad about her telling the story, but she knows how I feel about it. She knows me and Colleen are okay. She knows that I fought tooth and nail to pull it back so that there was no trouble. And I could tell her a lot more, but it would be going against my word with Colleen, and I'm not going to do that. I appreciate the relationship I have with Colleen. It doesn't even bother me that she goes on lives and tells that, because that's really all she has from me. My problem was her going to you when I had just checked on her that day or the day before, just making sure she was okay. Not that we're not buddy buddies, just I know a lot of people is going after her, and I just wanted to know, that just checking on her, are you okay? I know a lot of people's coming after you. I know Sarah's coming out of the woodworks again. Are you okay? And then she's going behind my back to you. talking about the Colleen thing.
Right.
I could do a lot of damage there, but I choose not to. So, and not because of Fancy anymore.
And when her and I would have an argument, she would run to you and try to get you to see me as bad. And so, and
Well,
we
she
never
did
know.
that. She did that one time. It was that
And,
one time she did and tell me that this is what you are. You're always drama driven and you've lied and those kind of things. But that was right
and all
after
I did
you
was
know.
hold my boundary. And that's all I did. And she lost her shit. And I'm like, how is that drama when I'm holding my boundary? Like, you're the one running around, running your mouth. And, you know, I haven't said anything to her about her going to tie in other people about me just recently within the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've just kind of left it alone because it doesn't do any good. It just doesn't do any good. And she asked me the other day, are we good? Well, we're fine because I'm just not getting into it. I'm done. I'm just done.
Yeah. But you got the truth. I mean, she went public and apologized to you. You apologized to her. You both accepted. She straight up said she knows you had nothing to do with any of that and said you've always been good at what you do and that she was just mad when she said those things. So it's, going to be even worse on credibility to turn around now and say, oh, I didn't mean any of that. She knows how I feel about what I did to Colleen. I will always, always regret it. Colleen knows that too. And I did everything in my power to fix what I did. And it taught me a lesson not to ever do anything like that without getting both sides of the story. It was a big lesson for her to still be going around trying to throw it as the only weapon she has when I could quickly, if I didn't give a shit about Colleen and didn't care to stab her in the back, I would never do it. But if I didn't care, I could quickly bounce every one of those accusations off.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to hurt Fancy with the truth or Colleen. So she needs to just drop it. And again, I don't care what she says publicly. Most people don't believe that anyway. But going to you, that was my line. And you didn't tell me that until yesterday. So anyway, I got to go, honey. I got to get in bed.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I really, really appreciate you all. Thank you to those that got memberships tonight. You're amazing. And I'll be putting some membership content. I think I may actually do Dawn's interview on membership first. That way.
You are going to record that, right? You're not going to go
Yes.
live.
Well, if we do membership, we can do live. I'm going to let her choose. I'm going to let her choose.
Okay.
I think recording is best, but I'm going to let her choose and go from there.
Okay.
So,
all right. Good night, girls.
Y'all all have a good night and a good weekend. Be safe and see you soon.